Niall Redmond. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've started a band. Started a heavy metal band.
Heavy metal, but what's the name?
We haven't decided the name yet, but we've decided the roles, and I'm the lead guitarist.
The lead guitarist.
I'm joking. I haven't started a band.
No, if you did have a heavy metal band though, like what would you want to call it?
Oh fuck! I don't know. You asked me a deep question.
That's a good
I
question.
Up with the worst dad joke in the world, and now you're like. I just want
to say, my friend Aaron, he every time he likes to kill our mood when we go out for like a little session or something. Right. He's like, someone put on Dying Fetus. And it's just like, he's like, it's called Grotesque Impalement, and the whole song is like
proper grindcore.
It's not even, it just sounds like someone like trying to like hack up like a fucking hairball or something. It's awful. It's so bad, but it's so funny.
I think some music though, there's like that stuff that's like bad, but it's good. You know, like noise music.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Vibe. So I'm not really a metal guy in general, to be honest. But like, there's some genres where I'm like, it gets weird. I'm like, oh.
When it gets
I
weird,
wouldn't necessarily play it in front of someone else, but you know,
you quietly enjoy it by yourself. Yeah. I think I've got a few artists like that.
My one at the moment that I found is 100 Gex.
100 Gex, I've not heard of it.
Real bizarre shit, but it's like one that you listen to the first time and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like drinking bleach, but then after a time you like find yourself coming back to it. Like, it's this weird thing. It's
you come back, drink bleach once, decide it's like your favourite thing.
Yeah, and your tolerance builds up to it, you know, for the second time round. And you can do a bit
you go
more
from like a quarter shot to a half shot to like down in the whole bottle.
One shot to the whole album, and then you listen to the remixes the next time, and you just get real stuck in, you know.
We love that.
But yeah, super cool. I don't know.
How did you discover him?
It was YouTube. I spent a lot of time online.
Oh, did you go down one of them rabbit holes?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved doing that.
Algorithm music finding is one of my favourite hobbies at the moment.
You find some crazy shit, don't you?
I have a playlist just of like just random bizarre stuff that I would never have known about if I hadn't wasted a lot of time online.
Oh, that's it. I found some stuff through Reddit that's actually really good. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like people like. So I'm in like a few subreddits where it's like some of them are like small YouTubers and stuff, and they're just like, here's some music, you can use it like royalty free.
Oh, sick.
And it's really like good stuff. It could be just like ambient, it could be like a proper song. One of them was like a sort of like peaceful sort of, it was just like a light melody basically, not much backing music. And he was like, this is for my grandma, I made this because she died, use it in your videos, just credit me. And
it's a good way for like exposure and things.
I just thought that's also such a nice way to, because people are gonna look at that and they're gonna be like,
it's gonna come up.
That's that guy's grandma.
That is sick as fuck.
Yeah, because if they know that they can use that in their videos like royalty free, they know that they've read at the same time that was for his grandma. So they sort of like have a part of that, part of involved in preserving her memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, keeping her alive in that way.
Yeah, I think that's really nice.
It's good to know Reddit's used for like good things, because honestly, like I know a lot about Reddit, but to be honest, like my main usage for it is pornography, and that's like that's the other side of Reddit. You know what I mean?
I feel like I'm probably a lot more wholesome on Reddit. Mine's all like, it's all just like meme pages. I don't follow any news on Reddit because
I always get recommended the news subreddits when it's like you scrolling through and then it's like news, and I'm like, this is not the time
actual
or place.
wank. It's so bad. If you want news, if I can go to Facebook news sites, like sometimes Instagram, like
maybe
Twitter.
Yeah.
Anywhere's better than Reddit for news.
Was it you? I saw you were saying you were getting into Twitter.
I want to get into Twitter. So like years and years ago, I used to love Twitter. When I was about 13, 14, it was the only social media in my mind. It was the only one. And I sort of died off of it a bit because I changed quite a lot as a person around like 15 sort of 14, 15 sort of age. And I just never really got back into it, and so much has changed since I last used it, like properly.
It scares me when I don't have one, but I get like glimpses of it, like people screenshot stuff and put it onto Instagram, and I'm just like, I don't want to get involved in this mess. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm good.
It's I don't know what to call it, but it's
a battleground.
It's a battleground. It certainly is one of them. But it's so difficult to like find an entry point because like the people who use Twitter are the people who've always used Twitter, and they've grown up with it evolving. And I jumped off that wagon before like a bunch of changes, and now I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I use Instagram, that's like my go-to. I use Instagram and Snapchat. Sometimes Facebook, very rarely. And now I'm trying to get into Twitter.
It must be like, it's like when you try and get into a competitive game like 4 years after it's come, and you get like, especially like fighting games that people are nerds about, and you get like beat up by some guy with like veteran scars and stuff who really know how to play the game. You're just helplessly getting beat up is what I can imagine. I've
tried to do that with a few games. I'm right. The reason why I don't do that anymore is because of Team Fortress 2. I used to play that game fairly often on like the laggiest computer ever, but I managed to start getting into it a bit. I played better then than I do now. I try and play it now, and everyone's so good. It feels like they can always like kill me like that, but it takes like fucking thousands upon thousands of shots to like even like
get
that littlest bit of health off of them, and it just feels completely unfair, and it brings out my ugly side. I think I'm not a very angry person. I'm quite chilled out, and like I'm a nice person to be around, I like to think, but like Team Fortress 2 makes me fucking ugly, man. It's like
games are ragey, man. It's one of those things. I think there's something about it not mattering at all, and then you get enveloped in it, and then it becomes everything, and then when you start sucking at it, you're like, you forgot about the real world, so you're like, this is everything, and I'm just fucking shit at it, and it's like,
what's the game that does that most for you? What's your rage quit game? Rage quit game, like a game that because the thing is, you also like that game as well, don't you?
Yeah,
and that's why you're so mad. It is like that. That's exactly what it's like.
I don't know. Probably. I'm not too bad, because when I got into fighting games, I kind of learned to appreciate it a bit more. But it balanced me out. But before then, I think probably get CS:GO. It's the obvious one.
CS:GO,
like when we used to play CS:GO a lot, I like because some CS:GO is a weird game where you can have a really good day, and then you could go have lunch, come back, and be like, oh, we'll play another game, and then you just get dicked on. You're like doing the same fucking. You know what I mean? It's like. And then it's just like, it's so broken as a game. And if you're in my internet's pretty shit as well. So it's just like...
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, that is really rough.
Yeah, but it is like an addiction, because I had a period of time where my internet just wasn't good enough to play it.
Yeah.
But I was still doing like aim training. So like a month, I didn't play any other games, and it was like full on. When I was like, my main hobby was playing games. It was like, it's too wet to skate.
Yeah, absolutely,
I just couldn't play games. I was just doing it like for a month. I just did CS:GO aim training, and then eventually some of my friends asked for like, oh, let's do like not a LAN game but like a private game with some Irish friends, and they're like, oh, it'd be better than trying to connect to people in Russia and stuff. The ping's really good on this thing we use. So I was like, okay, I played, and just the training paid off, and that's probably the best I've ever played in my life. Just like floored them, not even from like knowing what the fuck to do, just having good aim in that game. But then after that, it's just downhill.
So that's really cool, because I could never train unless I have like a little shred of talent at playing that game already. I can't get better. I'm one of them people that I will always suck as much as the first time I played it. I will always suck as much as the first time I played it.
No, but I think you'll get better if you...
It is the thing is I don't have an addictive personality.
So that's the difference with me.
So, because I don't get addicted to things that easily, I think the game that I would say I'm most addicted to is probably Spelunky. I've got like this is going to sound like child's play to some people, 200 hours in it on Steam, right? And Spelunky 2 just came out. That's a solid
amount though, like...
Yeah, it is, right, that's a sizable amount of hours. You've got to imagine that's weeks of my life.
But yeah, it's like when you break it down, that's a lot.
This is what I was about to get into. Like, CS:GO is an addiction. If you're into CS:GO, it's like the people who play like Dota and stuff. My mate Charlie, he's got 3,000 plus hours in CS:GO. And that just it actually stresses me out. It makes me feel deeply uncomfortable that he has spent...
It just disappears though, because every CS game's like an hour or so long, sometimes 2 hours long.
That's it.
So it's just, he's played...
And you got to imagine how long is... Right, 24 hours is a day. That's a full day, no sleep, right? You got to imagine...
It's just insane when you think of it, like you're like, holy shit.
Right, 100 days is 2,400 hours. He's in 3,000. That makes me feel deeply uncomfortable, because that's a sizable portion of a year. That's the better part of a... Not the better part, maybe, I don't know, but like a sizable portion of a year. spent on CS:GO.
It'd probably make 2020 a lot better though if you just did that.
I think a lot of things could have made 2020 a lot better.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Do you know what the issue with CS:GO is? Like we said, when it's like an hour or 2 hour long game, is that you don't know whether you're gonna suck in that game until you start playing. So about halfway through, you're like, fuck, and then you have to. If you quit halfway through a competitive game, you get banned.
Oh yeah.
Which annoys you even more because it's like you want to go back in and play again. You want to gamble it again. But it's like you have to sit through 45 minutes of just getting shot in the head constantly and just being like, oh, it's that demoralising. When fighting games, it's 90 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
You play the first round and you like, oh, okay, it's...
You know,
and then after that you get the option of rematch or not, and you can be like, you can manage it a lot better because you can ask yourself multiple times. At CSGO, you just have to sit there and let your mind... It is like good mental composure training, though, because you can do that thing where it's like, no, you've got to not think about it that way, you've got to be really into it, but I
think the thing is, you can play it very differently with that sort of game. With a fighting game, it's all immediate. It's like high octane. It's like it's almost like a sprint. Yeah. Let's say CS:GO is a marathon. Fighting games are a sprint, and you've got that 90 seconds is your chance to play well.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't play so well in like the first part, you've still got like the rest of the match in CS:GO to get so much better.
Back into it, recompose and stuff. Yeah, I think that's the point where you decide whether you're going to level out. And if you do the like Bruce Lee like recompose and then you still get dicked on, it just doubles the impact of your rage. You're just like, fuck this game.
It definitely does, yeah.
But then as soon as you finish, you go, maybe the next one will be better.
Maybe the next
one I'll get
You've got that shred, haven't you?
The other thing, fighting games, it's you versus them. CSGO's team game, so even if you lose fucking miserably, you can be like, I just got put with 4 guys who suck. You can blame someone else. It's like fighting games, they're just like, no, you got beat up and it was all your fault. There's no 2 ways about it, And it's like, it doesn't. That's the thing, and it's like it would sound like fighting games are more frustrating because you can't pass it off, but because you can't pass it off, you have to deal with it instead of pushing it aside and ignoring it. And
I think the thing is as well with fighting games, like the people who get really good, they get impossibly good. It's like in, was it Third Strike, where you can like parry moves if you get the frame perfect.
Daigo Mahara.
Yeah.
With Moment 37.
That, yes. Yeah, what
so good.
You showed me that. That was
amazing.
Like mind-blowing stuff.
It's so good. It's the
best. You can there's an easy entry point. If you're good, you're like incredible. But you can also, for people who aren't so good, you've still got like an easy entry point. I think it's harder to get into like a marathon kind of game like CS:GO. Like using our analogy again. It's harder to get into that because you've either got to be really invested, or you're not going to succeed at all.
Exactly.
Because people who rage quit after like 1 or 2 matches, like people like me, people who rage quit after like 1 or 2 matches will never get better.
Yeah, and it's not a game where you can. Most games you can sit back and go, you can take it seriously, or you can have fun and joke around.
Yeah.
CS:GO, it's got a culture around it, and joking around is not. It's like, no, you're either here to play for real and pretend you're a professional, or quit. There's no like, oh, I'm just joking around, and it's like, it feels. That's why I think when you see YouTubers doing like funny CS:GO videos, it's all the more shocking because there is that element of like if you see someone in a classroom do something crazy, you're like, I know I couldn't do that because I don't got the balls to do it. It's CS:GO, there's still that kind of standard that it's like that's kind of outrageous in that game, but in like
it's a bit
Call of Duty
ballsy,
or something, it wouldn't be outrageous. It would just be like,
I mean, that's standard. The norm in like COD, isn't it? Like, because the amount of fucking videos on YouTube that are just like kids screaming like, "Oh fuck your mum," and it's like, all right, mate. If you do that in CS:GO, you're gonna get some Russian guy like, "Shut the fuck up."
I had a compilation on YouTube recommended to me, and it was a compilation of Modern Warfare 2 lobbies where it'll be like 60 people all with their mics on and just noise basically of just people talking and echoes, and just like occasionally you'd make out an insult, and that was about the extent of it. It was insane. It was
amazing. Sounds like YouTube poop territory.
It was just unedited like lobbies one after another. I was like, this is amazing. This is borderline nostalgic. It reminds me of being fucking. Yeah, was it MW2 or one of those? MW2 was.
I think it was
MW2.
Game.
We were like when that came out, we were like 11, 12.
About that, yeah.
God, it's been so long.
Actually, I think we were about 12 when MW3 came out.
Blimey.
It was, I think 2010 was Black Ops. I think that was one of the
year.
Yeah,
Jesus,
I think either 2011 or 2012 was Modern Warfare. Yeah, 12 might have been 2012 might have been Ghosts. I could be wrong.
Yeah, God, that's...
You got how long ago was that? So that's not right, is it?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like when you remember Skyrim's 10 next year.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's nutty. It's honestly.
Skyrim came out
crazy.
just as we started secondary school.
Yeah, holy shit! It was like a month in.
Uh-huh.
Because it was 11-11-11. That was
11,
part
11,
of their
11.
gimmick. Yeah, so that was 2 months after we started.
Literally.
Whew, that's surreal.
And yet, some of my like fondest memories over the last 10 years playing Skyrim.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that Skyrim came out so close to me starting secondary school because it basically, obviously I love that game to death, but it just ruined year 8 and 9 for me because I was full on addicted to Skyrim, like proper like.
See, I didn't get the game until I was in, I think, year 8, at the end of year 8.
I don't think I got it till year 8 either. I can't remember what. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a story why I
It
got
did take over my life for a bit.
Yeah.
A few times. In fact, it does it in waves, right? I get it in waves. So I'll have like a week where my life is Skyrim. It comes around like once a year. My life is Skyrim.
Yeah, you live
It doesn't
in it.
matter what version it is. I'll start a new character if I have to. I've got like I must have about 10 characters that I've invested almost 100 hours into. The latest one is on Switch. But I'll go through like a week where it's just intense Skyrim and nothing else. The only thing else that exists in my life is YouTube videos that I'm putting on in the background just to keep my brain active when I'm like dungeon crawling.
Honestly though, I got so wrapped into Skyrim, probably till year 8 and year 9, and then year 10 I did a full like purge of video games. Like I didn't play video games in year 10. I got really into movies, which movies are better because they have an ending. So it was a lot of, it gave me that balancing because it's like I say, I probably talked about it before, but I was full of, like if Skyrim came out, like if I was that age doing that today, I would have been taken to like a fucking game clinic to be like addiction clinic, you know what I mean? Because it was just like
they need to sort you out.
It was
rewire
terrible.
your brain a bit.
Honestly, yeah, it was just like.
I think maybe you probably just burnt out. I mean, everyone gets that. Everyone gets that. I properly. So when I was about 15, I sort of had like a big change in my. I was like, I don't like who I am. I changed. I lost weight. Changed who I was, and
no, I remember
almost
because you were in my 15.
15.
I must have known you by then, but I'm trying to.
I think I must have known you, but like we didn't. We were in opposite wings, so we didn't have any classes together or anything.
Well, it must have been almost. It must have been during the period where they were kind of like, these are the people you're going to be in A-level classes with, because that's when we were proper together.
Yeah.
And that was when that period was like 15, 16.
Around that sort of time, yeah. And I just burnt out of video games because my mind was focused on like improving myself, because I think, and literally for about a year or two, I'd focus entirely when I was 15. I'd focus entire free time on like video games and gaming and stuff. I used my 3DS like almost every single day up until about September 2015, 2016. And then for a full year, I just barely touched video games. And it was such a weird, it was almost like whiplash. It came out of nowhere, and it just happens. It just happens. But then I got into like animation a lot more. I found like a new love for like animation and stuff like that. So it's just sort of like, I guess it's like evolving really. Yeah,
it's like that burnout thing. I remember, like...
It's growing up, really, I think. I think it's a rite of passage, almost.
What, do you know what helped kind of get me out of video games as well a little bit was playing Dark Souls. not because it was, like, it put me off, because I actually, when it came out on Games of Gold, I can't remember when.
I got it,
and it kind of revived the game a little bit. That's when it gained the big following it has now, properly big following.
Yeah.
Our group all started the game at the last time. Most of my friends just quit and went back to playing Halo. They all finished it eventually. They came back around to it. But I was the first one who just like, oh my god. Because I was a fucking addict, basically. So they were like, oh, let's go play Halo and be social. And I was like, no, I'm playing a video game.
Dark Souls.
Even though they're video games, it made no sense. But I played through Dark Souls, and it was just like, it was one of those ones that I finished and then like wouldn't shut up to them without being like, no, go. Like people being like, it's just not my game. Like, oh, I don't really feel. I was like, no, you have to fucking finish it. But the problem was, it was like after I finished Dark Souls, I was like, oh, what now?
Yeah.
Every game I tried to play, I was just like,
it's not the same.
It's not on the level of perfect. Like that's like when I played Dark Souls, where it was like, oh, like video games can be like art. Like now, if I play a video game, it's because Well, it's like Skate 3 is the only non-art one I think I play.
Skate 3
skateboarding games,
a
I'm
riot.
like, because it's like, fuck man, it's raining. I can't actually go skate, so I play Skate 3 to pass the skate part of me.
What a great game as well.
When skate videos get boring, but like if I play a video game now, it has to be like one that I'm interested in on like from an art's perspective almost. If that makes sense. Not to sound pretentious about it. But
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I only pay attention to like the big ones sort of things, and the ones I know have like somewhat going on underneath the surface rather than
I always try and find something that like I'm interested in. Like everyone always talks about like the AAA games and stuff, and I just don't give a shit about them. There
are a few, but it's very rare nowadays. Cause...
I mean, like I'm quite a big fan of like Nintendo games, I'd say. So like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, like fucking great games.
Yeah, cool.
I'm all about them. I think the only game that I can say I was like genuinely interested in, sort of like AAA wise, that wasn't on Nintendo was Horizon Zero Dawn a few years ago.
Oh yeah, the robot dinosaur.
Yeah, robot dinosaur. I looked.
That fits you, to be fair. I can
see right.
In that idea, I can see your personality.
And robot dinosaurs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's been a recurring dream of mine. But I took one look at it and I was like, that I need to play that game at some point.
Well, you're a fan of Valley of what is it? The Cowboys versus
Valley of Guanji.
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh, what a film! I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah.
I've been dying to see it. Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, we'll watch it at that movie marathon, dude. Get a copy.
Oh, we absolutely need to do that. Yeah, they said it at HMV.
Oh, nice.
What a film as well, can I just say. Well, I haven't watched it in years, so maybe my memory's a bit hazy, but I just remember the T-Rex in the church. Right, cowboys fighting dinosaurs.
It looks awesome.
So
and it's like
cool.
Claymation as well.
Yeah, Ray Harryhausen Dynamation. Right, this is something that I'm like properly about. So for anyone who doesn't know, Ray Harryhausen did like a lot of like the old school stop motion, like sort of thing you see in Jason and the Argonauts and Sinbad the Sailor. I don't think he did Jason and the Argonauts. He did was it The Creature from 10,000 Fathoms? He did Mighty Joe Young.
Did he do Jurassic Park?
I don't know if he did or not. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I can't remember. It might have been him, or I'm probably wrong. But there was another guy who did Jurassic Park and the Star Wars, the first two.
Oh yeah, I think that is a different guy. Yeah. But yeah, the stop motion. Because I've been rewatching the Star Wars movies on VHS because I bought them years ago on VHS and I've just not got round to it yet. And I've got Return of the Jedi to watch still. But when I was watching Empire, I was like, fucking hell, I forgot there's stop motion. The 80s look sick. I'm just all about that style of animation.
It is cool.
Stop motion is and the amount of effort it takes. If you look at like what Leica Studios do. So Leica Studios are the ones that do like Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings and Box Trolls. Them films.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful films. Beautiful. And the amount of detail as well. It's mind blowing. I've got this book at home that I found. It was at Poundland.
Of all places.
Of all places, this book like originally retailed for like 20 something quid. It was the making of the Pirates in Adventure with Scientists, the Aardman movie. Really funny film.
Yeah, it was good. It was.
And it goes into like all of the details and stuff, like how they animated it, how they set up the sets and stuff, and they created like a digital like water engine to work with sort of the green screen elements where they couldn't they can't stop motion water.
Yeah, because
they came up with their own engine. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And, sorry, I just went on like 15 tangents there.
Cool. This whole podcast's a tangent, man. It's a tangent of my life. One stop motion film I was really impressed with was Isle of Dogs. And I watched it in cinema. I haven't watched it since, but it's always one where I'm like, I want to rewatch it, but I need to be with like some good people to watch it with. You know what I mean? It's not one I want to
absolutely watch that with you.
But it's so much just the detail and just
the sushi scene.
Yeah, just honestly, little stuff like that was amazing to see.
That's one of them scenes that I think is like perfect. Cinema perfection is the sushi scene in Isle of Dogs. It's just immaculate. Every single frame is perfect.
It must have took so long for that little thing. But like you consider in movies today, even like real life movies, that someone will be like, we want to put in some, budget for them to make for that scene, which is like a detail scene, and it makes sense because the movie is about Japan. That's a very it's a Japanese style, or I can't remember what they call it in if you go down to like comic book level, or not
Mm.
down to, but if you go to the comic book world, in America you have the action to action panels, and in Japan you have these, I don't know what they call them, but it's just like they'll have panels that aren't action based, but they're like space to consider. There's a director as well of film who does pillow shots. So
Right.
they'll have a scene where they'll have a conversation, and then he'll just insert like a very still, almost photograph nature with like maybe a windmill element or a wind
Yeah.
element, just nothing's
Almost like
happening.
an establishing
Yeah.
shot, like a
Yeah,
reactionary.
but it will put it in the middle
Yeah.
instead of at the start, so it's time for you to like consider. And that scene for me is very much like that, as it's not like progressing the plot really. It's like,
Yeah.
because it could have been done very quickly, as it would have been done like pushed under. But to convince a studio that this is worth, like, stop motion costs so much and takes so much time.
Oh my god,
you
yeah.
know, in a world where Jackie Chan can't even convince them to let him do his like little pencil tricks and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
away with an Asian students. It was Wes Anderson, wasn't it?
Wes Anderson, yeah.
convinced them to let him animate that whole scene. It's insane.
The budget for that must have
Yeah,
been like
It's impressive.
astronomical.
It's
But-
just
Absolutely beautiful. I was
The
really
sun
jealous.
is
My ex-girlfriend, do you remember Kirsten?
yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely, I think I
She-
only met her once, but
Yeah, I don't know if you met her many times, but she went to an art exhibit. It was like a little gallery almost, but it was all sets from Isle of Dogs.
I remember seeing people put that on stories. I wanted.
It looked incredible. I was so jealous because I watched the film. She didn't watch it, but she went to the exhibit, and she was like, "Oh, this is incredible. This is so cool. This
Because
is."
they're bigger than I expected as well. Because I thought they were small, but they're huge.
Oh,
Aren't
you have no idea, like the
It's
amount
amazing.
of space you need for stop motion, and because you got to get the lighting right as well,
they?
and it's so intricate, and because it's all models as well, you need to have the right space to like put things in places behind the camera or in places where you can't see them, because it's all photos. It's all photos. It's a lot of like clever use of space, so you've got to have everything sort of like scaled to a point where you can get away with certain camera
Yeah.
tricks and stuff.
God damn. And that was pre-planned and stuff. It's
Yeah.
when you can't change it halfway through. You know what I mean? It's like
One of the most
going
incredible
backs.
things. You got to imagine, right? I think they average about, I think it's 7 seconds of footage a week, with stop motion animation.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's a Vine.
Exactly, that's a Vine, and it takes 24 frames generally for films for 1 second of footage. But you've got to imagine they've got to set up the lighting, make sure it's the same as the last frame. They've got to replace like the different elements, like the hands. If the fingers are moving, they've got to replace them or bend them, or the facial expressions are one of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Because they create these puppets now. They like 3D print them, and they have
Alright.
interchangeable faces for different expressions and different like what's the word, like syllables, I guess. Where you know how your
Yeah.
mouth moves when
Yeah.
So they'll have one for each, and also for different expressions and stuff. And so they've got like fucking hundreds of different replaceable like jaws and stuff, and eyes, and they have to change them every single time they take a photo.
That must be the most scary prop closet to walk into. One that's just full of people's heads is staring at you, and you're like,
Terrifying.
go through them to find one specific one while they're all staring at you. But yeah, it's honestly mind blowing.
It really is. Actually, I'll tell you what. Going back to Pirates and Adventurous Scientists again, right? When that film was coming out, Blue Peter did like a whole sort of segment on it, and
Alright.
Barney, who used to be on like Smile with Never
Frank
the Bear,
Patrol.
yeah, Barney and the Ninjas, yeah, that guy. Barney went on went to the studios at Aardman, and he animated like a little segment, and it was like really janky and whatever. He's got no experience doing stop motion, but it was. I just remember it so vividly, looking at all these interchangeable pieces on these puppets, and just thinking, "Fucking hell!" It was a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm glad I'm glad there is like Aardman Studios or like Wes Anderson still doing it, because I feel like it's something that like, because originally like we were talking about like the Valley of, is it Gwangi?
Valley of Gwangi, yeah.
So it had a purpose then.
Oh,
it
for
wasn't
sure.
the whole product. It was just to kind of tie in. It
These
was a part
days,
of
if they
special
made it, they'd
effects.
CG it. They just
yeah,
would.
yeah, because it's just easier. But now it's like become its own thing. You know, it's kind of like, it's quite, you know, it's like it was like film photography in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's become, it's kind of, it was the thing. It was just the matter of fact that that's
Yeah.
what we use, and then it kind of evolved into
Like the
something else.
status quo almost,
Yeah.
and now it's sort of, it's almost like a specialist. I wouldn't say it's a dying art form, but it's like
no, it's definitely not. It's growing. I think what it is become it's pulled itself out of the canon and become its own thing.
it's like
It's no longer about reliving the past. It's become its own.
yeah,
art form,
it's almost sort
similar
of
to stop motion.
evolved into like a in the way that like subcultures evolve or whatever, and it's become its own thing. It's almost like people are into like retro video games and stuff. Like it's just become cool and interesting and different. It's unique. Whereas at one point in time, that was how you did special effects. I mean, if you look at Jason and the Argonauts, that's one of my favourite films. The skeleton scene at the end where they fight all the skeletons.
Yeah.
You got to imagine, like, they choreographed all of that and they animated it and they overlaid them, and something in my mind just sort of goes, that's mind blowing. And the fact they thought to do that at the time, and these days it would almost be like the same thing. However, someone would turn around and go, well, why don't you just CG it? It'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's the appreciation for the craft now.
It is the
even,
craft.
Like, going back and because like a lot like my dad or something, it'd be like, oh, you can't enjoy King Kong because it looks silly, you know what I mean? But like now you watch it now and it's like you appreciate the craft behind it, even though you know it doesn't look real, but you're like,
it's revolutionary,
it's
isn't it?
You know, it took work.
You got to put yourself into the way you sort of immerse yourself in a film. You've got to put yourself in the mindset of someone from the time. Really, if it's something that's aged.
No, I think you can view it from a person of this time because it's like what we don't see now is there's films that became classic like Argonauts, King Kong, Guanji and stuff, and we see the good parts, right?
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of films out there with really shitty stop motion that we forget about.
I definitely have something to talk about regarding that. Have you ever seen Hercules from 1983?
No, I haven't.
Right, Lou Ferrigno, the guy who was the Hulk in the 70s TV show.
Right, yeah.
Lou Ferrigno. This film was shot in the 80s and looked like it was shot in the early 60s. It looks nowhere near as good as Jason and the Argonauts. It's about 20 years later. In fact, exactly 20 years later. And there's a segment in it. There's a few segments that made me like howl with laughter. There's one point where he fights a bear that's just a guy in like a shit costume, and he throws him into the air, and he flies into space and bounces off a bunch of stars like a pinball machine. It's so funny. But there's this one segment where they got like a really shitty stop motion robot centaur. Right.
Sounds insane.
Right. And it's all. Oh, I can't begin to explain the special effects in this film, and they do a lot of like. You got to commend them for it. They did try and do a lot of things that were probably like they had massive shoes to fill basically for the things they wanted to do, and they do not fill them at all. But they are really funny.
I think that's kind of the stage that like CGI's at the moment. Because a lot of people are like,
sure, yeah.
Oh, I don't like CGI, but like the thing about CGI is like, the problem with CGI is like you only see the bad CGI. Because really good CGI you just don't notice.
You don't notice it.
Clock. Like if you watch a compilation of like the good CGI versus them taking out, you're like, oh, that car was CGI. That bit was CGI. You're like, whoa, it's like
best use of CGI is when it's integrated cleverly. Do you know what I mean? If something's like something that just wouldn't fucking exist in reality. If you've got a dinosaur walking around a city breaking buildings, you're like, oh yeah, CG. But the clever use of CG is when you see something that's real and believable, and it's sort of integrated in a way where it's shot with something that's also real. Like I saw a really good video of
well, Mad Max did that really well.
Yeah.
Fury Road.
So Fury Road, famous for I haven't actually seen the film myself. I really would like to, but
practical and digital special effects.
That's it. And people didn't notice a lot of the time.
If you did,
I just saw a thing
it didn't matter. It wasn't like they cheated a stunt. They'd just, it would be stuff in the background or like the big storm or whatever. Obviously CGI, but it didn't be like these actors are cheating or like there's no danger in these special effects. That's the thing where it goes, when you cheat out on stunts is where I kind of draw the line for me.
Best use is when it's integrated with the stunt. So I mean the Avengers movies do it quite a lot. You see like behind the scenes things, but they're sort of like they're very like choreographed and whatever. I don't care. I saw a clip from John Wick 3, I think it was, of Keanu Reeves falling off a building onto like what was supposed to be
where he falls down
falls onto like a railing or something, and falls onto like the roof of like a outcropping from a
Yeah,
building
like,
and then
dum, dum,
lands
dum,
in a
dum.
pile of rubbish. And they show you the shot from the film, and it looks so realistic. And then they cut to him falling down like a green screen sort of recreation of it. And so he actually did the stunt. He just didn't do it in the city.
Yeah, well, the thing is, for me, this is how fucking like messed up I am. Because when I watched it in cinemas when I saw that scene, I really didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
Because I love the film up until that scene where he fell down. Because for whatever reason, I looked at it and I said, "Oh, that's a fucking fake thing." But then it was when I was with my brother, and he was like, "You know, he did that for." I was like, "Fucking bullshit." And I think he showed me that video, and I was like, "Whoa." But I still, for whatever reason, just the way he falls, I think I'm so used to seeing CGI falls that when the real one's done, you go, "That's fucking fake." But in my opinion, it kind of came out of this tone because it's very, obviously it's ultra violent, but it's like people get hurt and die in it as him falling. When you see the fall, it's kind of that. I think it would have been better if they just kind of like show him fall off and then like over the top, Yuri's already on the floor. You know what I mean? And then I could, make up some in my head. I don't know, for whatever reason. Even though it was real, for me it just felt unreal. It's the similar thing with that. Do you remember they did an Assassin's Creed movie that no one gave a shit about?
Yeah, in 2016, everyone hated it.
Well,
I predicted that as well. Everyone was like,
it
it looks so good, and I was like, mate,
no
that looks dreadful.
But that film holds the record for the biggest like free fall jump. Like when he died,
They did the eagle dive, didn't they?
But the problem is, it was surrounded by this CGI background that no one believed it when you're actually in the film. Like when you watch the stunt video, it's like whoa, but then you watch it in the film and it's just kills it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
maybe
suppose
that's the same problem with the John Wick one.
Maybe. I think with the John Wick one, it's a believable environment, and maybe that's why it works a bit more.
Yeah.
You obviously can tell in Assassin's Creed because it's like Renaissance era Venice or whatever, wherever he was. You're like, fucking, of course, we can't shoot that in that time period.
Yeah, unless it's very expensive set building, which I don't think they
I don't think they're from an eagle dive that high. I don't think they're going to rebuild an entire city.
Ironically, if they had done a smaller jump in a proper set,
could have looked a lot better.
Yeah, even though it's not as extreme, it's like that weird thing.
They wanted the world record though. It was clout chasing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was clout chasing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you can't knock it. It did bring a lot of like eyes towards the film that maybe weren't there before. People were like, oh, they did the biggest stunt. Oh.
God, I really don't miss that era of films when we're at school because there was so much dog shit.
It still is,
but recently we've had like just pre-COVID, it just felt like all our films were just suddenly getting much better. Like pre-COVID, we had John Wick 3, had fucking.
I need to watch John Wick so bad.
But we just had these movies that kind of like brought it good again. Like I feel like, fuck man, 10-15 years ago, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just wouldn't be able to get made.
Yeah,
because it has that flash. It has like a flashback in a flashback sequence that's like 9 minutes, and if you presented that to someone. And you weren't. To be fair, he's Quentin Tarantino, so he gets a pass right from studios. They're like, "We trust you, okay?
We love you, yeah.
We're gonna buy it." But
make our movie."
If any other writer had been like, "Yeah, there's this," just like this is my movie, they'd just be like, "This isn't gonna sell." And I mean, it kind of didn't because there's a lot of
Quentin
people who didn't like the
Tarantino,
film,
his name sells it. To be fair.
Yeah. And there were a lot of people who didn't like the film. To be fair, they're wrong, but
what I wanna show some appreciation for is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Right, because you actually saw it.
Right, no, I didn't.
Oh,
right, not well.
Okay.
I have now.
I thought you did.
Right, so it came out on Valentine's Day, and no one wanted to go and see it with me. So the day I decided, fuck it, I'm going to see it on my own. I'm sick of asking people.
Fair enough.
The day we went into lockdown, the day it was announced that we're going into lockdown the next day, I was like,
that's why I got the story.
I was gutted because I really wanted to show some love and like throw some money towards the film because they went out of their way, spent millions redoing all of the CG.
Yeah, because it changed his eyes, didn't they?
It wasn't just his eyes.
The design.
The entire... Because before it was like... Because for some reason, studios have this obsession with... When they want to have like a cartoon character in the real world, they have this obsession with making him look real. And it's wrong. It doesn't look right. It's just a bit disgusting. They did it with Smurfs, Alvin the Chipmunks, Garfield, fucking you name it.
Yeah.
They've done it. And Sonic was one of the most like abominable. Yeah, it was one of the most abominable examples of that.
I'd argue it was worse than the Cats one.
Oh, for sure.
I think it was worse than that.
Cats was
bad.
Disgusting.
It wasn't. It was never going to be good though.
No, it wasn't. No, not a chance.
But it just felt like a losing battle because I feel like the theatre people feel like they're above movies, and the movie people don't. don't like musical theatre. So it's like, where's your audience in making this film?
Yeah, I'm not being funny. Like, no one wanted to go and see
It's like,
Cats.
yeah, even the amount of celebrities in it, they're all sort of celebrities that don't have like a dedicated following anymore.
Shit
It's like, there's no like Taylor Swift stands anymore, you know what I mean? It's like 10, 15 years ago there would have been an audience for that, but nowadays it's a bit like,
Yeah,
really
the funniest thing about that was Jason Derulo complaining about not having his package. They CGI'd out my dick.
Oh my god.
Humble brag.
Insane. It was just a weird movie.
Yeah, weird film.
Yeah, you know what? I take back what I said about earlier about good films coming out. Like pre-lockdown, I made a mistake there.
That's it. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie, everyone was expecting it to be... I mean, video game movies at the best of times are dreadful. The best video game movies are like fucking Street Fighter the movie, because like they didn't give a shit. They just had fun with it. They just had fun with it. And
I feel like there was one that was really good, but I can't remember what it was.
See, it's hard to think of any, isn't it?
Because do you know what the story is behind a lot of them? It's the Uwe Boll guy.
Uwe Boll. Yeah, he did.
And they're all like, he made
House
tons.
of the Dead and stuff. Yeah,
he made tons in the 90s in Germany, and it was like a tax scam.
Yeah, tax evasion and stuff.
Yeah,
Uwe Boll's a horrible man.
But have you ever seen the app called Letterboxd?
I have not.
And it's like a social media for movie nerds where you leave reviews and stuff, and you can make lists of films.
Oh no, I have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has an account on there, and he'll just rip into.
He
movies.
rips into people, doesn't he?
He just does these dumb critiques of just being like, "You want to see good films? Watch my film."
Have you seen his YouTube channel?
Oh, I dread to imagine.
Oh, it's just him calling everyone retards. That's pretty much it. It's just him going on tirades about people who don't like his movies, but his movies are shit. So like, what do you expect?
Delusional artist, you know what I mean?
No, because the thing is, he didn't make it for art. He made it for tax evasion.
Well, true.
And that's
him to stand by it might be impressive.
Butthurt.
Yeah.
He's just butthurt that other people have better films than him that weren't made for shady reasons.
It's hilarious. What do you think about the R word as it's become?
Oh,
you can't use it anymore.
I don't.
Apparently.
You say
do you want
that.
another drink, by the way?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah.
Before we get into some shady territory.
Yeah, it was fucking. Let's fill up our cups before we start.
And worst comes to worst, we blame Captain Morgan.
Right, the R word, as you say it, it's just a word. I'm pretty sure everyone I know has said it at some point, just in passing.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know anyone who's ever felt offended by that word personally. No. And if you were offended by it, I'd apologise. I'd say I'm sorry. However, I'm not going to stop saying it. Right, that doesn't apply to all words. Can I just say racial slurs and whatever, especially given the big Black Lives Matter movement and stuff. It very much changed my opinion on, because a few years ago it was the edgy thing, wasn't it? It was like you'd watch iDubbbz and Filthy Frank or whatever on YouTube, and it would just be like M-bombs everywhere, and it was funny.
Crazy.
It was and
I feel like they were slightly clever with it at times. Though. It had an underlying joke underneath it, though.
The joke was that it was outrageous and it was offensive and it was wrong, and that they were the butt of the joke.
They were playing characters, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's a really good in the Tana Mungu video that iDubbbz made, the Content Cup. He talks about the all words are okay or none of them are okay, and he makes a very good point. I don't necessarily say he's got a pass. I think if he made that video nowadays, it would be a bit more rocky. However, at the time, it was definitely a very fair point. You can't say one racial slur and then say another one and say one of them's bad, but the other one's okay to say. It's like either one of them's all of them are bad or none of them are bad. Yeah,
it's a weird one. Well, my thing is racial slurs aside, right?
Yeah.
Not including, I think the M-word's a different thing, you know?
Yeah.
But my issue I've been thinking about at the moment is insults are kind of a dying art form, you know?
Oh, for sure.
There's nothing funnier than making fun of someone for something they can't help. That's why the art word's so good. The problem is they took away, retard and gay and the M-word, and it's like, okay, I can understand it, but they didn't give us anything to replace it with.
Yeah,
I was talking to this with a friend of mine.
Basically, what you want to do is you want to create the new slur.
Well, I want one that's, making fun of someone for something they can't help, but it's not going to hurt anyone. Well, it hurts the person you hit, but you're not marginalising.
You don't want to call him a retard, but you want to call him a window licker.
No. I'm moving away from the the mentally ill and you know, homosexual people. I'm picking one that no one's going to get upset that we're making fun of that group. And my friend to come up with erectile dysfunction. So you know, you go to a movie with one of your friends, and you always have that friend in the group who, you know, you go watch a movie that ends up being shit, you know, and they'll still be like, "Oh, I kind of liked it," and you can go, "Dude, you gotta have erectile dysfunction if you thought that film was actually good." And I think that's my alternative to it, because I feel like it's a gut reaction as a person that benefits from everything. You know, it kind of started. The gut reaction was it annoyed me when they take stuff away, like people like, oh, we can't have circuses anymore, and they just get rid of animals from services. And obviously there's problems, but it was like, that was the only interesting part. But then I saw this really cool thing where they it was a circus that they got rid of the animals, but then they brought these like what's the word, like hologram animals, and it looked amazing. I was like,
oh right,
this is what I want alternatives, you know? So this is my social
circus in VR.
Yeah, this is my so it was like you had an alternative that's better, you know, and still, you know. So that's my my social what's the word? My social change that I'm trying to make.
You want alternatives
as a new insult, just to, you know, it will make everyone's life better, I think.
Possibly, quite possibly. I tell you what, I might start using that. I might start because that's quite funny. I want
to get it started,
and it's gonna make people feel self-conscious, sure, but like,
well, that's the point. Maybe,
but it's not gonna
hurt
in the
another group's feeling at the same time. And
I mean, obviously, like, I feel like the word retard, and I am gonna say it. Well, I'm not calling anyone that. I feel like the word is sort of thrown
we're talking about it, you know, it's in context.
I feel like it is thrown around quite a lot, and maybe there is a time and place for it, and maybe there's a time and place where you shouldn't say it. However, I think if you're just saying it like in a joke, it's obvious when it's not. If you're saying it to someone, if you're saying that person's retarded, mate, you're a dickhead. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? But if you're saying like, oh man, that's so retarded, what the fuck was that? Like, that's just like, oh, it was a bit weird, a bit wacky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see it.
Right, and maybe it's not the right word to use, but in heat of the moment, it's verbal diarrhea, innit? I mean, I get
what you mean there.
I've got a video up on YouTube, so like I can't exactly like say I'm guilt free or whatever. I've used the word in a video that I spent a long time on. I said I cannot. I think it was about 4 years ago when it was like cool to say like fucking edgy shit.
I think I probably removed that video. I think I've seen like.
It was my shitty Roblox one.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot begin to explain how retarded this is, and I don't necessarily think that's like excusable, but also I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, in my own opinion.
So the thing is, some people are going to get bothered, some people aren't. You know what I mean?
I've never had anyone call me out for that. Can I just say?
Well, fair enough. But I just, you know, I want to give an alternative, and I hope it gets widespread enough that at some point there is a movement where people go, you shouldn't say that because it will hurt people's feelings. It will hurt someone who actually has erectile dysfunction's feelings, and I think that's
leave it out.
Hilarious.
It's on Viagra.
That's hilarious in itself. Like, the idea that it could get to that level is kind of funny to me.
Man, he can't help his limp dick.
I think limp dick's already a joke though, isn't it? But it's not I don't think that one's referring to.
What's that fucking line? What's that fucking line? You limp dick hippie queer.
Yeah, that's the thing about limp dick's got the gay connotation still. As I'm saying, erectile dysfunction has nothing to do with gay people.
Yeah.
It's just about people. It's not even. You know, it can be very inclusive because there's some trans people have dicks as well. It's anyone with a dick. You know, and
if it's limp though, man, what are you playing at?
But fuck, even some females as well. They have what was the catchphrase a while ago? It was big dick energy, you know.
Big dick energy.
So you can even get them with it, you know, and it's the perfect.
You think you got big dick energy? Yeah. Your dimp's lick as.
It may be
your
big,
dimp's lick as fuck. Your dick's limp as fuck.
Yeah. I like small dicked as well. I think that one's pretty funny.
Dicks are just funny. Can I just say, dicks are all created equal in the sense that they are all funny.
Yes.
I feel like I have like a more intelligent sense of humour than a lot of people, and that allows me to appreciate the fucking, like, I was about to say the word there, the stupid shit, like the really don't like shit posts. I love shit posts.
I really like memes now. Like memes were a thing when we were at school, but then they kind of went away because no one sends memes anymore, but I still find them on Instagram, and I've got into a version of memes where they're just the most nonsensical thing.
I love it. It's my favourite thing.
The funny thing for me is that someone took their time to make it.
Yeah.
The joke doesn't make sense. It's just ridiculous, and I'm like,
literally, I follow this page. I think it's called Squeaky Clean Meme Generator or something, and people just send in requests for like what the meme should say, and then they edit it and like fuck it. They make it with like word arts and PNGs and shit from like Microsoft Windows XL or something. XP. I've had a couple of drinks. It's all right.
Yeah, fair enough. You're getting confused with vintage Microsoft softwares, you know.
Oh yeah, this one looks like a classic '95 document. Yeah, and it's great, and it's all just shit pose. It's all shit like, or something like, what if me and you played Minecraft together? JK, unless.
That's ridiculous.
And it's all shit like that, and I'm a sucker for shit pose, and I feel like I can appreciate them because I don't want to sound like fucking up myself or whatever. I'm a bit I'd say that my sense of humour is like a bit more intelligent than a lot of people, but then it also means that I can appreciate the stupid shit more. No, because
you're implying other people are R-worded.
Where's your ball? Say it. You must have erectile dysfunction if you can't say it.
I can't figure out how to say it because my dick doesn't work. I'll say retard, like as a word, but you know.
No, I think some people are the sort of people who watch like Family Guy and laugh at the fart jokes. Do you know what I mean?
It's not funny, man. What are you on about? I don't know. I've never seen Family Guy. I'm not gonna lie. I missed out on that.
There was a golden period, and then it just went like.
I think by the time my group of friends caught wind of it, it was already like over. If that makes sense.
Yeah, Family Guy should be over. It's like Simpsons. It should be over.
It should be dead. Kill it.
But it had a golden period. It had its run. Why is it not gone?
Is it still going? They're still making them?
Yeah, they cancelled it twice, and they fucking brought it back, and now it won't die.
Because I remember there was a big one where it came back, and then they killed off the dog or something.
Yeah, Brian. They killed off. Is it Brian? Brian.
I think so. Yeah, I think, and it was like a big controversy.
Yeah, they killed off Brian, and they replaced him with Vinny for like 3 episodes. Vinny the dog.
I feel like, that sounds like a good idea.
I feel like the people who watch Family Guy and laugh at the fart jokes and like think, oh, that's funny, or when Chris dates like a girl with Down syndrome or something, and they think that's the funniest thing on the planet. They're the sort of people that can't appreciate a shit post because they'll look at it and they'll be like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
they're the sort of people who will look at it and they'll be like, what's the funny part?
For me, it's kind of like Family Guy is kind of the American version of like Little Britain or something.
Oh,
where you watch them and you're kind of like, yeah, it's like some people are like, oh, it's social commentary, and you're like, no, I mean, the joke's just that this guy's gay or this guy's disabled. There's no joke here, you know. It's just this is.
I'm gonna stick my neck out. Oh. This might be like a controversial opinion. I never thought Little Britain or Come Fly With Me was funny, and I never saw
Come Fly With Me, to be fair.
I've always thought it was proper dodgy. Like, I never found it funny, and I'm kind of glad that the Black Lives Matter movement, like, sort of stopped them from being shown on like streaming services because they are like full of blackface, and that is offensive, isn't it? Blackface is offensive.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that. Blackface.
Oh, it's not just blackface.
I haven't watched enough of them. I've seen like a little bit of Little Britain, and
if there's an ethnicity, if Little Britain didn't cover it, Come Fly With Me definitely did.
I think there's a way you go about it though, because some people like the only time I've seen it done in a way that I'm this sounds I said this and then realised I was on record, but no, but the 30 Rock one.
I'm not familiar with this.
Jenna does blackface, and the joke is that she's dumb enough to do it and think it's okay.
Oh, right.
So that's the joke. It's not the joke. The joke isn't.
That's the same in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they make.
Joke
yeah. So they do the same thing in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they make not Die Hard. Lethal Weapon 4, I think it is, or Lethal Weapon 5, and they switch their roles at one point, and one of them decides that the role requires blackface, and they're like telling him it's racist and it's offensive, but he does it anyway, and that's the joke. The joke is he's fucking stupid enough to do that, and I feel like there's a few blackface jokes in Scrubs as well, and it was
I never watched Scrubs.
Scrubs.
I
Oh,
think.
fantastic show.
I remember it's one of those ones where I remember it being on, but I never. I think when it was like one of those shows that's on in the background when you're a kid,
Yeah.
and I was too young to understand what's going on. I thought
Oh,
it was just
I
like a
loved it as a
serious
kid.
doctor's show, and just thought this feels a bit weird because they're stopping for
Oh,
they've got comedic timing, but I don't get it.
It was my favourite show as a kid. Obviously, I appreciate it more nowadays, but I still found it funny as a kid. Like about 2008 was when it was sort of on E4. It was sponsored by T-Mobile.
T-Mobile's still around?
No, it's not.
T-Mobile sponsored Skate 3 as well.
Did they?
Yeah, because there's billboards in that game with T-Mobile, and there's
Holy
one
shit.
in the level like editor, the object dropper. There's a T-Mobile like ledge that you could put in the game.
T-Mobile and Orange merged together to make EE.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
It? Ah,
That's what it
that
is.
explains a lot.
Yeah, in Scrubs they had a couple blackface jokes. They only did like 3 ever or something, and one of them was no, I think 2 of them were fantasies where the main character thought him or the girl he liked was his best mate who was black, and it sort of it was the one where it was like he imagined the girl he liked was his best mate, was he like pulled away from her, and it revealed that the black guy's head was actually her.
Right.
So it was her with a bald cap on, a black bald cap, and obviously it's like, with the context of the joke, it's quite funny, but also like you can see why it might be a bit dodgy. There's another joke in there where they go to like a college party,
Right.
go to like this frat house, and it's all black guys, and the black guy who's his best mate is like, oh, stick with me and this joke will be really funny, they'll appreciate it, just make sure you don't walk off. Because what they've done is the black guy's got white face and the white guy's got black face. And then the black guy walks off because he recognises some girl, and they open the door and it's just the white guy in blackface, and he gets beaten up, and that is the joke. That is the joke, that it's bad. And I feel like, obviously, I think nowadays that shit would not fly, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that sentiment. However,
well, the thing is, for me, it's like after the 30 Rock and that like meta joke, it's kind of like, to be fair, where are you going to go with it anyway?
That's it. When
I'm sure there is somewhere.
It's self-aware.
I'm just
The
too dumb
joke
to think about
is,
it, but it is like that's the meta joke about it, and now we've done that.
yeah.
So
The joke
what's really
is
left
that it's
in it, you know.
Yeah, the joke is it's not either it's not a reality. It's just something that he's imagined, or the other joke is that they are the butt of the joke. The reason that they've even thought to do this is fucking ridiculous and stupid, and they shouldn't have done it.
Yes.
But obviously, I agree that shit shouldn't fly. But I think it was also an element of its time.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, though, is like a lot of these examples are from TV shows or maybe movies, and they're not. I don't want to promote like censoring them, but they're definitely made to be safe. If you know what I mean? It's like if it's like people complain like, oh, we're losing comedy and shit like that, and it's like if you want edgy comedy, then get into like stand up.
I'm not being
that's
funny.
Where it still exists. You know what I mean?
Edgy comedy. If you look in the right places, there's tons.
You can
of
find it. The point is, it's meant to be underground. It's not meant to be on the TV. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The TV's meant to be safe. You watch it at dinner, so I can understand it. Though, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like man, fuck TV anyway. Can I just say,
Well,
I
yeah.
barely watch
I
TV
agree.
these days because it's literally all shit. It's all shit. If you want edgy shit, if you're looking for edge, you go, yeah, you go to like the comedy shows. You go on Netflix. You go on YouTube. You go on fucking Reddit.
Yeah,
you
search that.
It's
stuff
in
out.
spades.
It's the same thing as like when people are like, "Oh, music these days is shit," and it's like, "Well, just turn off the radio and go look for it yourself."
Yeah,
and
sorry.
Then you'll find how much
if
good
you're
stuff
looking in the
there is.
right place, you'll find
It's like-
something in every single genre that's good. If you're listening to like fucking Radio 1's top 40 in the UK, fuck off.
The thing is, it's like you're not gonna.
There'll
in
be
any
the odd
of the old
good song
media
in there,
stuff,
but-
it's always the goal of it is not to produce interesting or good content. It's to protect someone's investment. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's why it's.
That's
so
it.
People bored of it nowadays.
It's very like easy as well to make something that people will fucking listen to on the radio. I think the challenge is
I mean, I should know.
making something. I think the challenge is making something that someone will want to listen to again in their own time.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of a weird thing, but in doing that, you kind of have to not give a shit.
because you've got to make it for yourself.
Yeah, you've got to make something that you accept that some people will like, but also some people may not like.
I mean, yeah, you've got to
But
look
you got
at
to
like,
know why they don't like it.
yeah, you've got to look at
There's
like
a point where you're just doing shit, you know. It's like you said earlier when it was like you give someone critique and they're like, no, it's that way for a reason.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah,
no,
so
it's not. You're just covering up the flaws. There's a
before we
difference between
started
that and
recording, we
Yeah.
were having a conversation about critiquing people and offering criticism. I'm a strong believer that you should offer criticism, but you should be nice about it. I think if you say, if you question something, say, well, why is it this way? Or like, I think maybe if you did this, it would look really cool. Or, you know what I mean, that sort of thing. But you sort of like making them feel encouraged still. I used to do this to someone I knew, and she would just throw it back in my face. She'd be like, well, it's meant to be that. So she did photography, and I was like, so it just looks a little bit like underexposed, or it looks a bit weird here, or what was the purpose of this? It's meant to be that way. It's meant to be that. I was like, no, I'm trying to help you. You asked my opinion. I'm just like... And it's like, did you want my opinion, or do you want me to just like blow smoke up your
and
ass?
also, why is it that way in that picture and not that way in this picture?
Yeah.
There's no consistency, you know. That's where it falls apart. It's like if you've got to know where the parts are that people aren't going to enjoy, and you've got to decide whether it's worth that you're going to turn people off for that. It's like some people say to me like, oh man, can you just maybe consider how long these things are, because some of them have been like 3.5 hours long, and I'm just like,
yeah, but
shit.
You know
it's like
what?
one of the things where I'm just like, from the start, I was like, I'm not turning it off just because I think there's a time limit I've set for it, because I want it to be freeform. You know what I mean?
That's it,
So
freeform
like whatever,
content. Yeah.
However it goes, it goes.
You've got to make it for you, and at the end of the day, right? So these podcasts, right? I've not listened to like many of them because I've been a bit busy lately with like work and uni.
This is my favourite thing to bring up. I think about it because people will. It'll be in a conversation and someone will be like talking about something, and my favourite thing to do, even if it's not happening in the podcast, like friends and stuff, I'll be like, oh, speaking about that on the podcast, and then they do this awkward thing where they're like, oh,
they freeze up.
I've half watched this one. I know you haven't watched it. I don't care.
I want to make it like abundantly clear beforehand, because I'm making it my mission to get through them. But I've got like so many other things going on. It's finding time for it. So I'm on episode 2.
Enjoy it as you want to enjoy it. That's why they're out there.
And I am enjoying them though. That's the thing.
At a certain time, I'd do them live or something.
Yeah.
But that's why I put them out as a archive sort of thing. Immediately archived on YouTube. When you get to it, you get to it. You know?
That's it.
Whatever.
And
It doesn't bother me.
getting through them slowly but surely. On episode 2, I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying them. I think they're fantastic. I think your podcast is really, really good, and I think
wait till you get to the next one.
Straight down.
Yeah, it's all downhill after episode 2. No disrespect to Alex Wilson. That was a good one actually. Episode 3, you got.
I'm looking forward to it. I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to listening to the episode you did with the comms, because Ollie and Liam, I haven't spoken to in all. Well, I have spoken to Ollie fairly recently, but I haven't spoken to Liam in a long time.
But they were like your schoolmates, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We were in a lot of the same classes. I did ceramics with Liam in GCSE. Ollie, like, we used to just be really good mates.
That one I fucking love, because although it wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't sitting down and talking about music, which we obviously did, but it was the closest I felt for the longest time of being back at an NSB lunchtime with my friends without actually being there with my friends, you know, which doesn't happen very often these days because we're all in uni, different parts of the country, but sitting down with them and them having that just banter for 2 hours or whatever.
It was good banter, wasn't it? It was good banter.
That was a fun one. It was hilarious. Ollie's the funniest fucking dude.
He's lovely as well. He's so nice.
He's awesome.
He just comes out with some amazing things. I've always found him like fascinatingly funny, and he's more than meets the eye as well. Ollie Rumans of the comms, he's a funny guy. So I think we found common ground very early in secondary school. Like one time, I don't know why I did this, right? So this is how we first started talking.
Like half the stuff when you're that age is, I don't know why I did this. I just did it.
People used to say that because I was quite fat when I was that age. People used to say he was skinny Niall because we had the same haircut at the time. I just came across him in the Now I've come across. Right, I came across him in the playground. It was just a school field. It was the playground at secondary.
No man's land.
Pretty much. And he was just sat on the fence. and I just walked past and I see in his blazer pocket just a Game Boy Advance SP. And I just pulled it out and handed it to him.
That was the thing in NSB though. You'd
just do it.
If someone had something in their like blazer pockets, you'd nick it and give it back.
It's a free game, wasn't it?
Constantly, it was just like the perfect.
The amount of times my
it?
planner got
Perfect joke,
stolen and dicks were drawn in it or something.
Oh, my planner was full of other people's dicks.
Like literally, other people. You just took pictures of them.
Different. No, but like, yeah, planners just got fucked up. They were meant to be for writing homework. It got worse as soon as they made it all online.
Yeah, I don't even know why they bothered buying planners because no one used them.
Do you remember Lewis Slade?
I know the name. Like I feel like I've met him before. I can't put a face to it though.
When the homework system went online, he fucking told me the funny story. So the homework system, it used to be color coded, if you remember it.
Oh, I do.
Online.
Yeah.
And it was red meant it was due today.
Mm.
Orange meant it was due in the next couple days or something.
It was like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, and green meant it was like longer than that away. So what he'd do is, we were talking about the laziest things we've ever done, and he said, one time I didn't want to like sift through and check the dates on the homework system for which ones were actually due tomorrow, rather than, because it was this week, wasn't it? Yellow was this week, green was weeks after, and red was today.
Today, yeah.
He said, one time I had there was like a bunch on there, and I didn't want to sift through and pick out which ones were due tomorrow, because everyone did the homework the night before. No one was doing it the week before.
Sometimes I did it like the break time before the lesson, yeah.
But he said, one time I couldn't be bothered to go through, so I just waited till it turned midnight and then refreshed it so it colour-coded them in red. So I was like, how long did you wait? And he was like, well, I got home from school at 3, checked it at 4. So I guess I waited till midnight till 4 o'clock. I was like, oh my god. Just sat around, just waiting. Then you're like, okay, now I can refresh it. It's like, would have been quicker to
just do it.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
That is funny.
It's so funny. I ain't seen him so long.
NSB was a riot. It was a riot. There was a lot of things I do not like about that school. However, I do feel like if I didn't...
school part, it's like living in a country. It's like, there's a lot of things I don't like about the government, but you know, British.
I'm glad I grew up in Britain.
Day-to-day life is pretty good.
I wouldn't say I'm like a proud Brit. I wouldn't fly a Union Jack flag. I'm not. But
yeah, I don't give a fuck.
But I'm glad I grew up in a country where I feel like a lot of the people my age feel the same way that I do. I don't feel like disenfranchised by people my age. Do you know what I mean? I feel disenfranchised by the government, but not by.
Like everyone does.
I don't feel like an outcast in society. But it's the same with NSB. I feel like I don't like the school. I don't like how it's run a lot of the time. However, it definitely built my character. I definitely feel like 100%. If I didn't go there, I wouldn't be who I am now. Yeah. I feel like I would have been bullied a lot more. I feel like because I was a fat kid. I was a fat kid.
I'm not going to disagree. I mean,
if I was in a school with boys and girls, not only are the boys going to try and impress the girls more, but like trying to like fuck you up. That's one
thing I'm glad we missed is that phase
girls,
where
girls
you had to consider
really bitchy sometimes.
Oh no, Jesus Christ.
Right, okay, right. Teenage girls, right, okay. Maybe it's a controversial stance. I don't think it is. I think most people agree. Teenage girls are bitchy. Even girls will agree with that.
Yeah.
Right, most girls I've spoken to have said, fucking girls are bitchy.
Yeah, fair enough. So,
I feel like I would have been relentlessly bullied, and I wouldn't have ever improved.
Worry about would just it changes it. I've talked to other people where they've told school stories, and they have that thing in part of the stories where they'll modify what they're doing because there's girls present. We never had to worry about.
We never had that.
Age,
yeah.
You know, unless we were meeting girls outside of school, you know.
That was it.
But then even then, it was like we were already ingrained in the boy thing so much that it was like, even if there is other girls, why is my hand shaking?
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Okay,
proper shaking.
But even when it was like, oh, weekends we're meeting up with a couple of girls, it was like they've got to learn to hang with us, not we're bowing down to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was
for
like
sure.
Totally flipped it, and they're just a lot of times they didn't know what the fuck to do. Would just be insane teenagers, and teenage boys are like, let's be honest, the worst.
Yeah,
and they just had to deal with it. Just like, what the fuck is going on? You know.
It was an interesting.
It
was interesting though. It was an interesting dynamic. I feel like actually being in a boys' school, you sort of worry about it being like a harsh environment. And in many ways, it is like a harsh environment.
Yeah,
like,
but
but
it's a
I feel like
type of harsh,
it's
if that makes
different.
sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're all still lads, and you're all still like the same age, going through the same things. Maybe at different times, but you're all going through. Even if you had problems with people and whatever, someone always had your back. Someone always had your back, and that was sort of like bro code kind of thing. But no, but it was like that. It was like that, and I feel like people weren't as cliquey. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole high school thing. The stereotype is there's like the cliques, and but we didn't really have that. We had groups of friends.
In sixth form though, there was a lot of girls who came and said it's way more cliquey here than it is.
That was the girls.
But they said they were just like trying to join into the thing. They're like, oh, you guys are all separated out into cliques. But
I just want to say
A
levels.
I feel like there was cliques, but it was like open to.
Yeah, so I feel
fluid,
like we were both in friend groups that weren't like they didn't fall into, because A level was like the stereotypical like pyramid. Do you know what I mean? Like popularity pyramid. Like you got the people on the top who are like super popular, fucking Mr. NSB, Mrs. NSB in the yearbook, and those sort of people. And then you sort of go down and sort of like people who are sort of unremarkable. That's not me being a dick, right? That just they keep to themselves. They're not exactly popular. They're not unpopular.
Well, it's my mum always said, she fucking was like, you guys are like the in-betweeners.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like our level was, that middle bit. It was like,
I feel like our friend groups didn't really fall into that category, because we pretty much got on with everyone. We just didn't really like speak to many people outside of our groups.
Yeah, we were just mind our own business. It wasn't that thing where there was like proper kids being mean to us, because
who the fuck cares?
Cool as fuck when you got
who
to
the
know
fuck
them. It was
cares?
just, like, just didn't bother them. And they didn't bother us. It was like, fair enough. It wasn't. Yeah, it was. There was cliques, but there was no like hierarchy, if that makes sense. Is what it felt like. There was, but it wasn't.
There
as
was,
bad as
No, it could have been worse.
Where it becomes like, you can't talk to us. Sort of
I wasn't a fan of like the whole hierarchy aspect. I liked it when people were like, they were like popular. Do you know what I mean? They're like, people knew them, people liked them, but they weren't dickheads.
A lot of them weren't. There wasn't that many.
No, exactly. There was a few.
Cool.
There was a few. I'm not going to name any names, because that's like.
Oh, there's always a few.
There's always a few. There were people who thought they were better than you, like who wouldn't talk to you because you weren't like a rugby lad or something. But like, I never had a problem with anyone, and I don't think any of the people I spoke to really had a problem with anyone either.
It's a weird thing. I think it's just the expectation when you grow up watching fucking Disney Channel and shit.
Yeah.
And you guys go, you're like, oh, it's nothing like this.
You spent your life watching Victorious.
I wish I was fucking one of those kids.
Someone's got to be that guy who chews up his food and sticks it on the locker as his design.
We didn't have lockers, So
oh no, we didn't. We didn't.
Yeah,
we had
just dumped our
the
shit
bag
on
rack.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just carried it around with you all the time, God, it was such a weird time. There's so many fucking... Yeah, so odd.
School was fucking weird. School was a weird place. Do you remember when Ian McKellen came for an assembly?
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, if you don't revise for your exams, you shall not pass! And everyone just fucking cheered.
And he made the most... because... But I remember
my brother met him for that, actually.
Oh, nice. I think my brother as well ran into him as well.
Oh, did he?
Opened the door for him so he could go to the toilet.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's what my brother said anyway. I remember at the start of that assembly, though, he told the most, like, hacky joke I've ever heard. Because he was like... Because obviously he's, like, gay or whatever, and that's what it was about, wasn't it? In the end, it wasn't about... They didn't get Ian McKellen in to scare us into studying, That's what a joke would imply. But the first thing he was like... He tried to make this joke about... how in America, like, coming out of the closet's an American phrase, but in England we should say coming out of the cupboard.
Coming out of the cupboard.
Yeah, but he just kept going over it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, we get it. It's just not
sure,
not
man."
You had one chance to tell it, and now it's gone down. It was worse than my fucking lead guitar joke earlier.
Okay. We never did get an answer as to what you would call your heavy metal band.
Oh fuck! I haven't even thinking of it. All right.
Loaded diaper.
That's the one from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, isn't it?
It certainly is. It
Excellent.
certainly is.
I don't know. What would you call yours?
What would I call?
Flip on you.
So I like dying fetus. I think but that exists. So I can't have that.
You can't steal it. You gotta make. Being original now, come on.
Yeah, so I want to come up with something like along the same sort of line. So like maybe like demon abortion.
Ooh, yeah.
Demon abortion, or
that's nice, satanic and offensive at the same time. It
yeah,
you know, hits the mark for what it needs to be. Oh, I don't know. It just has to be
Antichrist scrotum.
But is that the thing? You just do something religious with something sexual,
or something gross. Loaded diaper.
I don't know. Why has it always got to be Christian?
It doesn't have to be. It's just it's demonic, isn't it? 666 and that.
Yeah. But I think if you can up the disgusting factor and change the religion.
Change the religion.
Yeah. Like gonorrhea Buddha.
Okay, I was just about to say Buddha.
You know.
No, but the thing is, Buddha's like chill vibes, isn't it?
Well, he was, and then he got gonorrhea. in my band.
He freaked out a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Vishnu cancer.
Jesus. Cancer is another one of those. You make cancer jokes, you can get in trouble as well. I feel like.
What? No, you can't. No.
I feel like it rides the line.
Sorry, the word of 2016 was cancer.
Oh no, you mispronounced COVID.
That's the word of 2020.
I don't know. It just feels like. It's a weird,
or lockdown. Lockdown's a word that we use every single day now.
Well, the new one's rule of 6. Rule of 6 is the new Big Brother is watching. It feels like it's fucking everywhere. It's like, let's talk about the number 6, and I'm like, fuck you. Not that I'm breaking it, but I'm still just like, I don't like the idea. I just don't like it, you know. And the curfews, I'm really fucking.
Right. Okay. I want to ask. How do you feel about like the new lockdown regulations where pubs are like closing at like 10 and stuff?
Well, it's fucking retarded.
I feel like it's too little, too late.
I said the R word. That's how passionate I feel about it. I actually said it.
No limp dick today.
Yeah. Rock hard going in there. No, I think it's dumb as fuck. It's because it just makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It's too little, too late, isn't it?
Also, it just it's like every single person they've dropped it on. It's like when they said, "Oh, students cause it," and now it's like pubs have caused it. It's a scapegoat. You look at the data, and someone had a thing, and it was just like.
I just want to say as well. I work in retail. I feel like most people sort of our age, like 20 to right. So people are saying 20 to 29 is the age group that's like spreading COVID, and maybe there may be a little bit of truth to that because obviously like uni students and whatever, when they get pissed, they lose all.
But they knew that was going to happen. They've had months.
But whenever I'm sort of working, the people who always don't have a mask on are like middle-aged to like they're like boomers. They're baby boomers.
Yeah.
I saw one lady today who had a mask on, but she was wearing it like a chin strap, and she didn't once put it over her mouth and nose.
You know, I could. It's one of those things where I'm like, maybe, like, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because there's been times as well where, like, I'll do it both ways. I'll come out of fucking a shop and I've had a mask on, and then I'll just keep wearing it and then forget.
Yeah.
You know? But then there's sometimes where I've walked in and been like, oh shit.
You got to put one on. No, and that's fine. Like,
yeah.
But this woman was fully aware she was wearing a mask around her chin. People do, but people also don't cover their noses as well with their masks.
Yeah, that's a weird
one. And you sort of think you're the sort of
I
person that probably complain about someone not wearing a mask, but then when you wear it wrong. So you're not actually doing yourself any favours.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but I feel like a lot of people though are like, it's not that hard, but until you've worn them for like extended periods of time, and then you realise how fucking annoying it is. And to be fair, it's not meant to be nice, but
no.
Like, you know, you're always just like, oh, I just want to.
I saw this really interesting video on Reddit, and it was this. I think it was this girl with, I believe it's cystic fibrosis.
It's fucking terrifying.
Breathing problems, but she was like
death sentence.
Wearing different masks and measuring her oxygen levels. So she had like a gas mask, she had like a ventilated like face mask, she had like a regular like disposable face mask. All these different ones, checking her oxygen level, and it's always the same. And she's like, if I can fucking wear it, you can.
Oh yeah. But it's scary for those guys as well, because if they get it, it's just like guaranteed death.
They are
normal
done.
Life is guaranteed death for those people. You know, it's just like it's one of those things where it's like, because I feel like, you know, no one's called me out of it, but I have been very sort of pissed off against lockdown rules, and I've noticed a lot of people are. But my thing is, it's not like I'm ignoring all of them. You know what I mean? I think some of them are dumb. Some of them.
The thing is, as long as you're sensible, you're fine.
When I say, because I was thinking about this, it's like a lot of people are just like, it's like everything's very fucking bipartisan now. It's either you follow every single one or you ignore them. But when I say ignore, I don't mean fucking actively go out of your way to do it. It's like, just think for yourself. Just, just do what you believe is the right thing to do, which is probably like masks, like yes, and things like that. But it's just like things like the curfew and stuff. I'm a bit like, it's just fucking.
I don't know how they're even the police a curfew. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, even the rule of 6, I'm a bit like, really?
The rule of 6 is weird. It's a weird one. We've ignored that so much.
And it only applies to meeting up with your friends in places where they can't make money off of you, basically, is what it feels like. It feels like, no, it feels like an economic push. It's like, well, we'll stop them meeting up at home so they have to go spend money if they want to be with their friends. It's monetized.
You've also got to consider, like, what counts as a household, what counts as so many different factors. I don't know how they police it. I really don't.
The way they police it, though, is snitches.
That's
the big thing, because they've been there's news stories where it's like, police encourage you phoning in if you spot your neighbours breaking lockdown rules, and everyone's like, oh, we fucking Nazis all of a sudden, calling the SS, the Gestapo to come get your neighbours. Like, fuck that. And I feel most people are pretty chill about it. Obviously, it's different if you have fucking 400 people around, and it's just like, oh, seriously?
You're being a dickhead if you do that.
Certain things I'm a bit like,
right, if you've got a handful of... So we have this shed that we built, me and my mate Charlie. We built it over lockdown. It was... The motivation for it was, when lockdown eases off a little bit, that's going to be our little sesh cabin. And it is. And it has been over summer. And we've had, like, probably about... I think the maximum amount of people we've had there at any point was about 15 to 20 people.
Impressive.
Yeah, but that's not, like, loads, is it? That's not, like, loads.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough.
But nowadays we're sort of seeing, I think the most we've sort of had since the rule of 6 is like 10. But even then, like, we were out of everyone's way.
Well, my thing is, it's like everyone there knows what they're getting into, right?
Yeah,
they know the risk involved, and everyone also, if you're one of those people who are going to those events, you also beforehand you're like, if I feel ill, I'm not going. And you expect other people aren't fucking evil, especially when it's like 10 of your friends. If one of your friends was like, oh, I'm coughing a bit, they'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to.
If I had a shred of a doubt,
it's like
I wouldn't show up.
Yeah, it's like I can take the responsibility of, having, like, protecting my friends. It's like everyone else will, so most likely I'll be fine.
Do you remember a few weeks ago when I had tonsillitis? Or actually a couple of months ago. It was literally just after we all met at the Baldy. Because I started feeling like I had like a bit of a temperature when we were at the Baldy, and I was like, "Oh no, this is
the one.
This isn't good. This isn't good." I felt really guilty because I was like, "Have I just endangered everyone who was there?"
Well, you only just found out yourself.
Yeah, and I went home and I was like, "Guys, I'm getting a test for COVID just in case." I'm only displaying like a couple symptoms, like the temperature and like the sore throat, which is like a rare symptom with COVID. But I'm getting a test anyway. And then as it progressed, it turned out to be tonsillitis. And I was massively relieved because in my mind I was like, fuck, I was there. And that was when I started feeling like the symptoms. Was that like
it's a scary
me endangering them? And obviously that's like a more of a grey area. But if you feel ill before you go out somewhere, mate, fucking stay home.
Yeah, allow it. It's not that deep.
No, it's like...
most people do, because most people aren't fucking sociopaths.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people have some, like, recognition.
No, the people who go out when they feel ill at the moment are the sort of people who would, like those people who go on, like, what was it, that story of that guy on Grindr who had AIDS and would purposely go and fuck, like, other gay guys just to pass it on for fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories like that of people getting STIs and then just, like, deliberately going out of the way for revenge. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and it's revenge on people who don't deserve it.
It's like, I'll allow it for the time.
And that's if you're going out and you're feeling sick beforehand. If you're feeling sick when you're out, you can't help that, right? But if you feel sick beforehand, you have that option to not go. And if you're choosing to still go despite that, then, like, obviously you're being irresponsible, you're being a dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. That's it makes sense.
Yeah, and as soon as I felt any sort of doubt about my own wellness, I messaged you guys and I was like, just be aware.
Because it was me, Harry and Felix, and we held off until you sent the message, like, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, so basically. Luckily it was only like a day or two.
Yeah, it was free. It was quick.
It was quick. Luckily.
Pretty impressive.
But I was sort of shitting bricks a bit because I was like, what if I do have it, and I have passed it on to them.
To be honest,
I would
I'd
hate
rather
myself
catch-
for it.
I'd rather catch COVID off of you than tonsillitis, because tonsillitis sucks.
Oh my god! Right. So,
Because remember, I had it in A level because we had a deadline. You had to get my sketchbooks from my house when I had it.
yes, I remember that. You looked rough, right?
Yeah.
You looked so rough. You came to the door in your boxes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably wraps in a bit. Because do you know what it was? It was because it was like before school. I think I'd woken up, but I was that rough that I'd been like, I need to be awake for when Niall gets here, so I'm giving this stuff, and then just
That was it.
died again.
That was definitely
And
it.
then because I remember you texted me like, dude, and I think you woke me up with a phone call being like,
I did,
dude,
yeah.
I'm gonna be fucking late for school. I was like, shit, fuck.
Yeah, that was
So,
it,
like,
that
run
was it.
downstairs and give it to you. Yeah.
But I took a selfie of myself basically by accident. I opened
As you
Snapchat. Yeah, no, I opened
It
Snapchat
happens.
and I was just sort of like looking at my phone and I accidentally hit the button and I was like, holy shit, is that what I look like?
Yeah, it's like a physical thing. You just look like.
It's
fucking shit.
I wish I could show everyone who's listening to this, if you are listening to
We
this.
can make that instead of the.
Yeah.
We can make that the
Make
picture.
it that picture.
And it will be
It's-
real weird until this point. It will make sense. An hour and a half in.
It might even be like 2 hours in.
Yeah.
Right. I looked like I was going to cry. And that was just my resting face. That was my
It's just
resting
your face.
face.
Just it's like I don't know how to describe it. You just go white and it's all kind of pulled back, and you just.
It was the
feel-
most unbearable
It's
pain
horrible.
I've ever experienced. And maybe that's just me like not having experienced much pain in my life. But like
Yeah, but it's all pain's relative, It's,
Yeah.
it's- when you're experiencing it, is maximum. Then it
I
doesn't
think I
matter
would have
whether in
rather
hindsight
someone
it's-
beat the shit out of me than go
Yeah.
through tonsillitis again.
Well, at least you
I
knew
took-
when it was going to end.
Well, I didn't though. That's the thing, and
With
it
heating
lasted
up,
like it lasted what felt like fucking forever.
Mm.
It wasn't. I
It
got
feels like
so
a long
sick
time.
of ice cream so quickly. It was the only thing I could eat.
Because it's the first thing they make you eat, and then did you do the period of going on to soup?
No,
Those
I
soup
tried a
as
tin
well.
of tomato soup, and tomato soup was so because tomatoes like a little bit acidic.
Yeah,
Anything ever so slightly acidic
I was doing chicken
fucked
soup.
my throat.
Yeah.
I can't see. I'm vegetarian, so I can't do chicken
Oh,
soup. I could have
no.
done mushroom if we had any, but we didn't.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of similar. But it's thicker than tomato soup, so it
Yeah.
just kind of gets stuck, and you're already kind of stuck in that throat area anyway.
Precisely, yeah. So, and I tried one because I was thinking, oh, orange juice, that's supposed to help like a sore throat, innit? I took
already know
one
what it
sip
is
of this
going.
like smoothie or some shit.
Pain.
Oh my god, it wasn't even like a full sip. It was like,
Yeah.
you know when you've got an empty bottle and you've got like the dregs in the bottom, you tip it up and you get like the tiniest little droplet on your tongue. I swallowed that and my throat was on fire.
Oh,
It was on fire. I couldn't fathom the pain. Do you know what I mean?
I haven't I fucking made the same mistake because it's like you say, you get sick of ice cream, and I haven't felt that much pain since I was little, and I had a UTI. And
Oh, there,
now-
yeah.
Ooh, I was like 4, and I remember this one time we were driving home. We literally got so close to home, and I was like, because it fucks with your ability to know when you need to go to the toilet. So
Yeah.
it'd just be like you're fine, and then all of a sudden it's like I need to fucking go, and it's just like your inner section's burning already. And then when I remember my dad pulled over, we're pretty close to my house. Like 2 more minutes I would have lasted,
Yeah.
but it was like I was like screaming in agony. So they let me out. It was this. I think it was a letterbox. Up against that, and like you're 4 years old, so you have
Yeah.
no break. And when you're in that much pain, you don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit! It felt like pissing lava.
Oh,
It was like,
it
was
burns.
so
It burns.
bad. It was horrible. I was like, like just like on the street. Just imagine like this car's just pulled up all of a sudden. I jump out and go to the toilet, and I'm just screaming. People from their windows in the house is like, "What the fuck's going on?" Is this kid just like? But like, yeah, it was like that bad when I was trying to eat anything other than like ice cream and soup during tonsillitis. It sucks.
awful.
Being ill sucks in general.
It literally, yeah.
Can't imagine COVID's that much better.
I think there was one point when I had tonsillitis where I was like, fuck me, I wish I did have COVID.
Don't blame me. Dude. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, it sounds horrible, but I can imagine in the moment you're probably just like, anything's got to be
It's
better when you're
literally,
in that
I
much
was-
discomfort.
All I could wear was like the loosest clothing I had. I have these like penguin shorts. And they're super loose. They've just got like
Nice.
penguins all over them, and this one giant penguin that's like thinking about sunglasses. They're really cool, really cool. They're not cool.
Stylish.
They're not cool, but I like them. They're like my comfies. And I've also got like almost like a kimono, like cardigan kind of thing, and it's really thin material, really loose, perfect for summer. And that was all I could wear, because if I wore anything more, I was dehydrated, sweating buckets.
Yeah, that's probably why I answered, because when I answered the door to you in my boxers, I was probably boiling hot still.
Oh,
Even though
yeah.
I was standing in the door. It was probably like winter time when
I think it must have been like October sort of time.
Yeah, so it was fucking cold. I probably was still standing in that doorway with a fucking icy breeze coming in, being like, I'm too fucking hot. You know what I mean?
It's like that. It's really is.
Strange.
And I was unlucky in the fact that I got it at a time when it was like sweltering hot as well.
Yeah, because it was a heat wave, wasn't it?
Oh my god! When we got our
that.
COVID test, me and my mum, because obviously she'd been at home as well with me, we were just like, let's kill two birds with one stone. Let's both get them at the same time. We sat in her car, windows up, no aircon on. We were both dripping. It was disgusting. It was that was the heat. That wasn't my fever. That was literally the heat from outside doing that. It was like a greenhouse.
Yeah. I can imagine being in that discomfort. And to make a segue, I really need to go to the toilet.
So do I. Yeah.
Do you want to take a quick
breather,
interlude? And we're back as edgelords, as you just said.
As edgelords. You know me.
We're not racist though. That's what you know.
I'm not racist, but
I can prove it. Okay, now, if you had a time machine, what would you do?
If I had a time machine,
yeah. Remember, you're trying to prove you're not racist.
I'm trying to prove I'm not racist. Why am I trying to prove that?
I'm just trying to make a point.
If I'm trying to prove I'm not racist, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fuck the first human. We all come from the same place.
Well, you give a very different answer than most now, because most people, when you say, what would you do if you had a time machine? I was having a conversation with a couple of friends.
Kill Hitler.
Yeah, kill Hitler. Everyone says, kill Hitler, right? There's this thing. And it seems, you know...
I'm not most people.
Yeah, that's not. But even when I had this conversation with these guys, and icebreakers or whatever, it's like, everyone says, kill Hitler. Everyone wants to kill Hitler with their time machine.
Why?
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea. Personally, I'd use a gun. But, you know, whatever they want to do. They can use a time machine if they want. I just don't think they make good weapons.
They like crash land on him like the house in fucking what's it called? Wizard of Oz. Lands on the witch.
Oh god. Yeah. That was all an elaborate setup for that awful joke.
Terrible.
Yeah. Fucking we're back, part 2 with terrible humour and
that's what we do. That's what we what okay, do you have like a name for it? Yeah, you do, don't you? It's around
for the podcast.
Town.
Yeah, it's round town.
Round town with the 2 N's.
Yeah, for the double N.
Yeah, double N.
Go throw it in.
And then so this is what around TowNN is about.
Yeah, that's what it's become. It was originally meant to be like a video series, but lockdown kind of fucked.
I know. I remember
meant to actually be going round town with people.
For people who listen to the podcast,
did I talk to you about that?
Yes, you did. Yeah. So for people who listen to the podcast, Joe approached me a few months ago, and he was like, "No, I've got this idea for a video project. It's called Around Town. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yes, mate. When lockdown's over, we'll get right on this. We'll make videos about all these interesting characters and artists and people who make Northampton what it is, and really appreciate the town that we come from, because everyone's always so quick to go, I hate Northampton. Even I am. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
Hate Northampton. It's shit. But there are so many amazing characters around town. Hence the name.
Yeah, that's what it became, because I could do this now. Because I approached you to video it, and also Azim, who I had on here, episode 4.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was like a massive organisation plus COVID things just fucked out the window, and now we're back at uni. It's like
it's having time.
But I wanted to still do something. So that's where.
I'd love to. I've got like more equipment and stuff now as well. And I need to get on the video making side of things, because
wait till uni picks up, man, then you'll realise.
How
my, you know, because I thought that when I started uni, I was like, oh, this is easy, and then you get stuck in, and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
I'm gonna be fucking whipped. I'm not gonna have any time to make any more videos. I spent all summer making my latest one.
Nice.
It's like a 35-minute marathon of a fucking video about Flash games. Because what I wanted to do with my YouTube channel... I
remember you telling me about this, actually. Yeah.
So what I wanted to do with my YouTube channel was make it sort of like an archive for like things that are nostalgic to me, or that could invoke nostalgia in other people. Because I think nostalgia is like the most beautiful feeling on the planet. I think that's something that we should preserve in every way we can. And I've got ideas for videos lined up. I've got my next one like lined up. I just need to like record and write and get down to business. But obviously life gets in the way of shit like that. And like with the original project for Around Town, before it was a podcast, when it was a video series, like a little documentary kind of thing.
Yeah, because it was only meant to be like maybe 5 episodes or something.
Yeah. Well, the original idea for that was like, it's a fantastic idea, and we should do something like that at some point. But it's, like I said, life gets it. Well, like I said, life gets in the way.
Once the world more, I'd love to still do it, because I think it would. Because although the podcast still allows me to get interesting characters, it doesn't get me to show off the interesting stuff and places as much.
Yeah.
Because people can come on here and be like, oh, the Garibaldi's cool, or Yellow Bourbon's cool, or this place is cool, you know. But it doesn't sell it, you know what I mean? If you can't properly.
No, there are some right. So I feel like Northampton has some really underrated places that people don't know enough about. Like Garibaldi is like one of the best places. Princess Alexandra as well. That's also.
I haven't been there yet. I keep seeing it. I walk past loads. I always, when I walk home from town, I go down the road that it's on.
I do, yeah.
Because there's this guy who lives in one of the houses down there, and every time he puts up, he must be a painter or something, and he puts up like his like latest pieces in his window. So he always has 2 of his paintings in the window. I assume they're his, but they're always like they change every couple of weeks or whatever. And I just walk past that. But yeah, everyone says Princess Alexandra is cool as fuck.
Yeah, Princess Alexandra cool is a lovely pub. So nice. Also, if you order food there, instead of having like one of them wooden spoons with a table number written on it or something like that, they give you a fez.
Whoa.
You get to wear a fez when you're waiting for your pizza or whatever you've ordered. It's fucking great. I've got an arcade table as well with like a bunch of like arcade classics.
Yeah, where it is, the like that one. Yeah, they used to be at Vintage Retreat, didn't it, for ages?
No, that one's still there. That one's still there.
Shit.
I believe, as far as I know, £750. No one's willing to spend that at Vintage Retreat, right? As much as Brian would like him to.
Now you got me considering it.
I've always looked at it and thought, I want that table, but I ain't got anywhere for it.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Would be nice
if you brought it. I saw they opened like a jukebox section now.
Have they? See, I haven't been to Vintage
Retreat. There's a new vendor who just sells like jukeboxes and slot machines and stuff.
That's crazy. Cool. So I haven't been Vintage Retreat since January, when my past colleague Iola left.
Right.
She's lovely. She's a fantastic artist as well.
Oh, right.
Iola McCorkindale. It's hard to say. Iola McCorkindale. If anyone's interested in her artwork, look her up. She's so talented, and she's really like open to like the world around her, and she's like one of the most joyful people I've ever met. And the last time I went to Vintage Retreat was when she was leaving, her last day. And since then I haven't been. Apparently it's changed a lot.
Has it? I haven't been in a while, to be fair. I can't remember the last time I went.
Well, last time you went was probably the cafe was in the same place. It was
the cafe?
It's in the function room now, apparently. So I've heard.
Oh, right. I mean, that does make more sense, because half the time the function room was just empty.
Yeah, well, they used it for functions.
Well, because I didn't go there during functions. Fair enough. But yeah, God. It's a cool shop there.
Well, yeah, it is a cool shop. I've not got a bad thing to say about it, however, because I haven't been in a while, I can't really say what the state of it's like now.
Yeah. I think it's a proper...
I'm very nostalgic for it anyway.
Yeah. The difference for it to me is there's Vintage Guru as well, and Vintage Guru's...
it's so good.
It's cool, but I feel like it's a bit of a lie, because it's not everything's vintage. There's a lot of new stuff in there, you know what I mean?
There is a lot of new
stuff. And like fun gifts. It's a cool shop still, but it's not...
Lovely shop.
But if, like, Vintage Retreat, it's like you're going to find some weird old shit.
Yeah, you definitely do.
It's like proper, everything's vintage. There's a few crafty bits in there, but
the thing with Vintage Retreat is they have so much floor space, and it's
2 floors, isn't it, as well?
It's 2 floors. They've got a lot of square footage. They rent off different sections to different vendors. So you've got like a retro gaming section, you've got a clothing section, you've got someone who like sells on stuff that's like wholesale or something. You got all sorts of things. Brian sells his own clothes. The guy who owns the place, he sells his own clothes on the shop floor, like the ones that he doesn't want anymore. I mean, there could be more floor space if he didn't use like so much of the room for like storing random shit, like pieces of kitchen. Like if you go in the back room, no one's going to go in the back rooms. I only know this because I work there.
Yeah.
In the back rooms, there's like pieces of kitchen, and like he's got all sorts of just random crap just scattered about in the storage rooms.
Fair enough.
But there's all sorts of things there. And there's one segment that's like literally it's all just like fucking Pokemon cards and just like toys, like not newish toys, not like old stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that would be nostalgic to someone our age or maybe a little bit younger.
Like when we were kids, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and
Because we're not kids anymore, apparently. I've been told.
I struggle to believe that. I still act like a child at times. It's fine. Yeah. It's nice. Grown-ups shit, right? To anyone who feels like they have to grow up fast, right? You don't. Stop it. Get some help. It's shit, right? I don't have to worry about fucking taxes and shit at the moment because I'm still living at home.
Well, you're a student as well now.
Yeah, I'm a student as well now.
Get away with it.
Exactly. I've got an excuse for it.
Make as much money as you can while you're a student, man. Like, just keep that.
I've been saving up a couple of years, so I feel like I'm
nice.
Sitting pretty at the moment.
You're more of an adult than me, then.
You say that. I've been saving up for years, but I don't manage what I've got very well at all.
Well,
I probably shouldn't talk about it publicly. I'm not going to.
Fair enough.
I'm not very responsible.
Yeah. Let's talk about our accounting on this podcast now.
Yes, let's talk about
making an accounting
financial situation.
It'd be really useful for the people on the accounting course at the uni. I'm sure they'll.
In the comments section, is like, I have a few questions. One, what are your bank details?
Yeah, I'll send it to the accounting lecturers and say, skip to an hour and 41 minutes in, and then it gets really good for you guys.
Here's my national insurance number as well.
Yeah, but, honestly, yeah, it's growing up's weird. I miss being a kid, man.
Yeah, right on. There's nothing worse.
I don't know though. Then again,
when I turned 20, right, you've just turned 21, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is the weird thing because we're in the same year group, but you were born in September. So you're like right at the end of the year, the academic year that is, or right at the start of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And to me, that's horrifying because I've only just turned 20 in my mind.
Well, because you have now.
No, because I turned 20 in April.
Oh shit! I thought you meant like literally.
No, I just turned 20 in. Well, I say just. Yeah. It's not just anymore. It's been about October is half a year. I've been 20.
Yeah. So you're almost 21 now.
And it stresses me out. It makes me feel a bit disgusting. I don't. Because in my mind, I'm still in the same place mentally where I was when I was 16. I feel like I've got the same. Most of my mind is the same as what it was when I was 16. Yeah, I've grown up a bit, because I've had to. But
well, you got a haircut. You're doing better than me. I haven't figured that one out yet.
No, I ain't figured out why I did that. So anyone who's looking at the photo that's been taken as like the thumbnail for this podcast, I've shaved the sides of my head. Just on a whim.
I think it gives you a bit of character when you start uni, though.
Yeah, well, that was. I think the thinking behind it was like,
okay, as a.
Yeah, it was literally. I think the thinking behind it was just like, I don't want to be who I was for the last year and a half. Let's shave my hair and dye it bright purple, so everyone at uni can take one look at me and decide whether they're going to like me or not.
Well, the thing is, you've got the character to back it up.
Do you think?
There's quite a few people though who dye their hair and then you're like. Oh, but they do something cosmetic, and you're like, oh, they're they might be interesting. You go up to them, and then they're just the most boring people ever. And it's that
they're using it instead of their personality.
Yeah, it's that way because I like it that way. It's the excuse to cover up, but you're like a good, well-rounded person as well. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
People will see you, and it's like a signal. It's like this guy's the guy to come to if you want a good time.
You know what? Right, okay.
Not in that way.
Because I've just started the photography course as well. I took 2 years out. So Joe, after A level, Joe started the photography course at Northampton Uni, and I put the idea of uni out of my mind because
Well, we were kind of in the same boat where we both were fucking because we did the fucking A level course and just wanted to shoot ourselves, but we still want to do photography. And I ended up just through basically luck. My mum ran into the lecturer who runs our course, and then from that I went and met him, and I was like,
that's almost identical to what I did this year. Almost identical to what I did this year, and that's it. And that's. It's interesting because like for the longest time I was so adamant that I didn't want to go back into education.
Well, because you think it's going to be like A level. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I was like, oh, this is like actually about photography and not about like it's about academics. Obviously, it is because it's a university, but it's not about school shit. You know?
No, it's not all about getting the grade. Do you know what I mean? What school cares about? They look at you as letters and numbers.
Yeah.
Letters and numbers. That's all it is. And I hate that shit. I think that dehumanizes people to a point of being like, you are a statistic. Every person is their own person. Whether you're a dickhead or not is a different question. But like, every person is their own person, and you should appreciate that, really. And I hate how it's robotic. It's inhuman. Do you know what I mean? It's like
when
the
you've
Matrix.
Been there since you were 4 as well. It's like 4 till 18 nowadays, basically. You know, and it's just.
I don't agree with it at all, and I think uni, for the longest time, was sort of this daunting idea because I was so adamant I hated the education system and stuff. But 2 years taken out of life experience, work, and sort of learning a bit more about myself, really. I figured like...
Well, it's like when you're stuck in the school thing, it's like you said earlier, it's like burnout, almost.
It is burnout. What I mean? Yeah.
Like, it makes sense.
Yeah, and you just want to... Basically, what you want to tell yourself is that there is something for you there. There is something for you there, and you just got to find it. And I think I sort of had like an epiphany, sort of around December, January sort of time. I was like, what I really miss is photography A level, and not for the stress, but for what we actually did and for the photos I took, and the fact that it motivated me to go out almost every week and bring my camera. My camera was glued to my side, and I want to recapture that, and that's why I've come back to education.
Well, I think
I'm excited.
That's a big thing as well, because like when I did photography GCSE, and even in the first year of the A level, photography for me was because I was getting graded on it. You know, it was to avoid the punishment of not doing it. But then the second year, I started actually caring, giving a shit about it. But I mean, we used to have like really cool conversations about like the shit we were interested in photography. Oh yeah, 100%, all the time.
I tell you what, you did a Wabi Sabi sketchbook. For anyone who doesn't know what Wabi Sabi is, it's like a Japanese appreciation of like aging and
it's a weird
rotting.
One,
it's almost like
define.
It's hard to define.
It's kind of I mean, the Japanese will tell you it's like the soul of their attitude towards life, sort of thing. But it's kind of, for me, it's sort of accepting things as they are, which is very ironically anti-photography, because photography a lot of the time feels like you've got to control everything, control the light, control the background, control the model, tell them how to pose
like the best
and things.
photos...
For me, I'm just kind of like, it's blurry, good. Like, I almost like the more fucked up it is, the better.
It.
I'm kind of, but that's where
you've got a very distinct style as well, because you do a lot of film photography, and you take your little, what is it? It's an Olympus, isn't it?
I used to. The Olympus died on me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because it's magic. It is. It's because there's no batteries or anything, but it's automatic light meter from that thing on the lens that looks like solar panels. But obviously they deteriorate. Yeah. So now I can still use it if I'm manually doing like guessing the exposure.
But that's a lot of guessing work. That defeats
the point of a point and shoot. If I'm then, you know what I mean. So it's been like a year of me trying out different cameras, because I've been trying to find another point and shoot, and like I've got into ones with flash and stuff. Yeah. But a lot of them shit. I bought someone's recently from Gabriel Deacon, shout out Gab, who's, you know, he was going to be on the podcast last month, but he was ill, not COVID. He's all good now. So he's going to be on in December when he comes back to Northampton. But yeah, I bought some off of him, and they're like, well, he's used them. They work for him really well, and like I'm excited because they're like good quality like point and shoot cameras. I'm like, oh my god! He's like, I'm not gonna have to deal with bullshit of them just stopping working, because they're like, in those days point and shoot was just shoddily built. Basically, is the problem. Like the Olympus Trip is a godsend. You know what I mean? In some ways, just how well it's built and how, you know. But now they're fucking expensive, like 160 quid.
It's because crazy. It's trendy. It's a trendy camera. It's one of them things that like people. It's the same way Walkmans are now fucking expensive. I spent 30 quid on a Walkman that doesn't work. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like they're fucking expensive because it's the trendy thing.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. I fell into it because it was my granddad found it in I think it was like my dad. He's one of his sisters or my grandsisters. It's some, basically for me, it's like great aunt relationship. She died, and then he found it in her attic, and I had no idea about the camera before until I and then I was just like, whoa, and that changed it for my direction completely, because before I was using
that camera became a bit
medium
of you.
formats. Yeah, it was like the camera was like, oh, this fits.
It's like when we went to London for the gallery trips and stuff in A level.
Yeah. Oh, I shot
You took so many good photos.
Oh, I spent so much money. I think that day I must have because that day I went I was going to go to Carrie's, but I wanted to take as many photos as possible because it was like at the time at A level it was always like no matter how much you did at A level it was always you could do more. So I was like, I want to do as much as I fucking can. I must have shot about maybe 6 rolls of film that day.
No
and then
way.
There was a while where even between then and maybe whatever end of that year it was, and even over that summer, I got to a point though where I was shooting like a roll of film a day, dude.
That's
I've
crazy.
slowed down a fair bit now, but I'm like,
I just want to point out how expensive that is. A roll of film costs like £6-7. Sometimes.
And I was developing it. I wasn't developing it myself at that time. I was getting it at Skiers.
Getting it developed at Skiers.
Yeah.
I mean, Skiers are probably the best value.
And they were scanning it as well.
That's
so it was about £15 a roll every time.
You
so
must not have had money.
£15 a day. Yeah.
I couldn't justify that. Do you know what I mean? I've got rolls of film that I need to develop from that were my parents basically. I found so many rolls of film that
there was actually a roll when I got the Olympus. It's still at my grand's house that was in the Olympus when he found it. That I need to, every time I see it, I pick it up and go, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and then I put it back down. Don't take it with me to take it developed. It's just sat there.
That's it. I've got so many rolls of film like that at home, and I need to get them developed. But it's
the longer
money.
you wait, the better.
Yeah, because it's going to come out nicer. It's right. Aged film has such a beautiful effect. My uncle Derek, he's a crazy man. I love him. He is the reason why I have the sense of humour I have. He's the reason why I'm so interested in weird and wacky things. He's mad into photography. He's always been into photography. He used to do that thing where you used to get a roll of film, you'd send it off to be developed, and when they sent it back, they'd send you another roll of film for free.
Oh yeah, like the old Kodak stuff.
Yeah, so he's got so many rolls of film from doing that, and they've all aged beautifully. And I took photos on this one roll, and they came up with a green sort of tint, and that had all these little imperfections. And these photos, I love them to death. I got an album from Vintage Retreat for 50p that was the perfect size for one roll of film, and these photos I'm just so pleased with. They give a sort of timeless nostalgic quality in the fact that they look aged when they're not.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the way that a lot of people talk about the film feel, as I'm not really into that as such, but I just think they age better than digital. I think it's the same thing with CG versus practical effects. It's the craftsmanship you put into it. And there's a photographer who,
if you do it well, it will age better.
You came to her talk last year.
Yes.
There was an interview I was reading the other day of hers where she said about there's just something about it being organic material and it.
That was a really fascinating talk. Actually, I'm really
super cool.
I felt really guilty that I came, because we were a bit late to that because I had to finish work first. But
it's all good.
I came in with my girlfriend at the time, and we both sat down because she was a photography student as well, and it was really interesting. What the things she was saying is I mean, obviously, trying to remember exacts is it was months and months ago.
Yeah, you're not going to pull out exactly.
But I just remember feeling truly fascinated by her. I thought her work was incredible.
She's amazing. She came in the year before for the I think they call it Change in Futures Week. She did a workshop, and ever since then I've just been her work's just amazing. And I'm looking at her now in a researchy way to be
you want to incorporate it into your own
my project, just because when I look at her stuff, it's some of the stuff I
have a question.
Sense. Yeah.
I have a question. So you told me you were going to tell me what your new project's going to be about. You said it's quite trippy and it's hard to explain over text.
Yeah, well, it's hard to.
So I'm just interested.
It's one of the I was actually talking to Harry about it the other day.
Yeah.
Harry Ralph, who's also at some point will be on this podcast soon, I hope. But I was talking to him about it because it's one of those projects where it's because obviously final projects you want to put everything into it, And I've just been similar to the inhabited landscape one, I've been really interested about how technology like fucks with the human experience.
Yeah.
So inhabited landscapes was the name of the project, the module or whatever. But
Yeah,
I can't remember.
It's not the name of the module, but it's sort of like the idea behind the whole module.
But my project, like the finished thing, was called like The Land of No Sleep. Because it was about the sleep epidemic and how just technology, like, just, you know, everyone fucking does it. They charge your phone next to your bed, you know.
I charge my phone in my bed.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
exactly.
mean?
I do that as well, man.
Last night I had my laptop set up playing like videos because I listen to stuff to get to sleep. I had my phone charging. I had my new earpods charging. I had my fucking charge bank charging.
Exactly. Have you ever seen the film Videodrome?
I haven't.
David
No.
Cronenberg. Amazing. I watched it the other day. But again, for my project, I watched it before. But the start of that film, there's a TV switch on. It's like Civic TV, the one they take to bed for you, and it's like a wake up call VHS. And obviously, but I'm like, that's just, you know, your phone. We do that now. It's like, then it was like, oh, that's insane. You'd have a TV wake up mode.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, your phone does that. You take it to bed with you, you know. But it's really. So I've always been interested in that. So the project's kind of coming back to that, and my thing, like, I was kind of always interested in tackling AI, but I haven't done. I'm still not on. I think I said that to you like ages ago. I was like, I want to keep going down this sort of thing, but then I've been doing other stuff, which is like my black and white style, and now it's kind of coming back together to make it make sense. Because Inhabited Landscape was me experimenting with different styles.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So this one's about social and mass media, kind of how the feel of it, you know.
Yeah.
And how it, you know, in the back of your head,
This
the emotional
reminds
psychology.
me of you show. Oh, I can't remember what the film's called now, but you showed me when we were doing A levels. You're like, this is where Obey comes from, and it's this guy.
They Live.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fucking bad
puts on the glasses
movie.
and the advertising banners and stuff have like hidden.
Yeah, it turns from just a normal advert and then
to
it's
obey.
like buy and you know, that movie's
subliminal
fucking
messages,
sick as fuck, and it's got what's his name? Rodney Piper, is it? The wrestler's in it, and he's I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum,
and I'm all out of bubble gum.
It's amazing, such a sick film. That's Videodrome's the same era as that kind of thing, and the same sort of sci-fi thing. But yeah, that's.
See, I love it. I love talking to you about movies because I feel like we watch very different movies, but at the same time we can appreciate each other. And the amount of movies you told me about that I really need to sit down and watch.
The thing is, we're both into. Do you know what it is? We're both into cult movies, but we're into different sides of cult movies. So I'm into the more like.
I definitely want
to. For me, it's sci-fi stuff. For you, it's like the animation side of things. I feel like.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like that, which there is like a fair amount of crossover.
There is a crossover.
You know? Like,
I really feel like I want to watch a lot. It's not that I'm.
It's hard to find, to be fair. In these, even though Netflix makes it easier and stuff, it's like this type of stuff that it just doesn't get on Netflix.
Yeah.
Although Netflix does has a good cult section, to be fair. I think Videodrome was on there a couple of months ago. But
even if it is on there, though, it's not the sort of thing that gets like thrown in your face.
You have to dig for it.
Yeah. And if you don't know what you're looking for, then you're not.
Yeah.
So a lot of these films that you tell me about, I desperately want to see, and it's one of them things that you just never get round to. And it sort of pains me.
Sit down and pirate shit, which when I was a kid was a lot. We had more time to sit and do that.
Yeah,
but nowadays it's like, I don't want to be.
Can't be asked for that shit. Yeah.
Like, with the moral and the effort that goes into like a stream, you know.
And I just sort of think like. These films, they're not things that I would be against watching. They're things that I would really very much love to watch. But the things that interest me most are the ones like animation, where it's like you got to find your own niche. In if you're looking at like cult movies and stuff. But there's so many films that I desperately want to watch, and there's not enough time. There's not enough time.
Well, yeah, but that's
in life.
But the thing is, that was my thing with books for a long time. Because like
I've given up on books.
School fucking killed my books, but I got back into reading maybe, I don't know, last year probably, when I started reading like Thompson. Now I'm like always have like a book on the go. But it's just like before I did it I was like, I'm gonna start reading, but I'm never gonna get around to all of them. You know, and I like you don't wanna like, so my thing, I always wanna read like classics, whether it's sci-fi or whatever it is, like I kind of when people are like new releases, I'm not that much into
Yeah.
reading that. I'll give a shit about new releases unless
They're
you
not
know.
the ones that people talk about.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
People talk about like the right. So when I got, my girlfriend at the time for my birthday, my 19th birthday, bought me an Audible subscription for a month.
Oh, nice. How was Audible? I've never used it.
It's all right. I could take it or leave it.
Spotify with books.
Pretty much, yeah. But I got a Clockwork Orange with my one
That
token.
book's fucking sick. I bought that book from Vintage Retreat.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It's such a wonderful book. I would never have sat down and read it.
Does the Audible version have like a translation thing? Because my book version has like a pull-out, like...
it does not.
Not a dictionary? I don't know.
Glossary.
Thesaurus? Yeah, glossary of all like the words that aren't English. Like, just like... Because I thought a page for that. I was
It's
like,
Nadsat.
oh, fuck.
Nadsat is this made-up slang, which is like a mix of like Cockney and Russian.
Yeah, it's weird.
And you...
But you start to understand it about halfway, because I didn't find the thing till the end.
If you read it, I feel like it'd be a lot harder than if you listen to it. Because I listen to it, because obviously...
You just have to punch through. You have to do that thing that you did as a kid where...
When it's
you were
put
reading,
in context, like through verbal means...
Yeah, it's very cleverly done.
Yeah, it becomes so clear that you pick up very quickly what things mean. Obviously, the first chapter is like, what are you talking about? But like as the book goes on, you start to understand words like Crovy means blood and horror show means good. And I've forgotten quite a lot of them.
There's loads of them. There's like Moloko for milk and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Moloko. Yeah. There's
so
Petitzers. I think that's girls.
Yeah. I can't remember any others. It's so like it was a while ago I read it. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I listened to the audiobook first and then I watched the movie, and I love the movie, but for very different reasons to where
it's very different because the movie doesn't include the same ending as the book.
It's completely different.
Because it has like the book has like his turn of character.
Yeah,
which fills out the story, because in the book the story's about you can't force someone to change; they've got to do it naturally.
In the American version, they didn't actually even have that.
Well, that's why the Kubrick version is different,
yeah.
because he didn't read the British version until later, I think.
Yeah,
from what
that's
I can remember from the Kubrick one, you know, because I read Kubrick's biography as well recently, but trying to remember that now after this going on, good luck. But yeah, you know what I mean. So that's why those are different and stuff. But I think there's some debate about whether Kubrick read the full version or whether he read that version. But I think he read the American version first and then found out later.
So there was like a little bit discussing this topic at the end of the audiobook.
Oh, right.
And it talks about how there was that extra chapter that was written that Kubrick didn't include in the film. And
the American version of the book doesn't have.
And I think he negated putting it in the film in order to appeal to a wider audience, because obviously...
Well, at the time he was trying to make like a youth shock film.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what it is.
Reduces the shock value, I think.
Yeah.
Because it contextualizes everything.
It contextualizes it, and it sort of it gives Alex like a redemption arc almost. Like he starts to show growth. He starts to grow up.
Yeah.
And in the film, that doesn't happen. He just goes back to his antics.
Yeah.
He plans to, and that's it. They don't even have his parents are barely in it as well in the film. And his parents are like a big part of like his sort of recovery and shit.
Well, that's Kubrick's influence though, because Kubrick's idea was to have like a couple at most main characters, and then everyone else was kind of set decoration was kind of his approach. So having side characters in a Kubrick film isn't really a thing as such.
Yeah.
Leno as much.
It's a good film. I think if you've seen the film and you haven't read the book, do yourself a favour. Like
do both.
Do both, because they are different. They are different experiences. And
all of Kubrick's films / books, I'd say.
You know what? I really need to sit down and watch The Shining, because The Shining is a film I desperately want to see.
It's a good one, man.
I know it is. I know, and this is the thing. I know I would love it if I sat down and watched it. And it's one of them films that I would always be like, oh yeah, that film. And I haven't got around to it yet.
Have you seen the best Kubrick, and also the best, in my opinion, well, a lot of people
Is this
think.
2001: A Space Odyssey?
Have you seen that?
I haven't.
Good, because we're watching it at the movie marathon when it happens.
Oh yeah, we are.
It's on the list.
It is on the list.
Yeah, I've got the DVD.
And watching it for the first time, I feel like it's going to be a great experience. Obviously, I know like the basics, like how 9000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You just can't. I watched it. I went with the Errol Flynn, or now Northampton Film House. They show it, I think, every year or every so often. But I went to one. I saw the screening in their cinema, and
is it nice in there? I've never actually been.
In it.
Right, so I
awesome.
in 2016 I planned to go and see the Studio Ghibli movie when Marnie was there.
Oh, that would have been so good.
Right, and I planned it out, and everyone cancelled, flaked on me, and I've not ever thought to go there since. But okay, so I just want to say as well, that film, I watched it on my 20th birthday, to sort of avoid having a crisis. I'm in my third decade of life now, guys. Yeah, I watched it on my 20th birthday, and I think it's quite possibly my favourite film.
Which one's it? What's it called again?
When Marnie Was There. And it's about this girl who goes to visit her family. I think it's due to like depression or something, or because she's sick or something like that. Goes to visit her family in like a countryside town, and there's this big like marsh side mansion, and there's this girl called Marnie in there.
Right.
And she almost like falls in love with this girl, and then it turns out that this girl is like the ghost of her late grandmother.
Right.
And it's strange, but it's also really sweet and
wholesome.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of Ghibli films feel like sometimes.
But
I haven't watched that many, to be fair. Before
it's just such a genuine like. It's one of them stories that's like self-contained. Like you happily watch it, and afterwards you feel good.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like the most sort of close-ended finish to the film. Like there's still a lot of things that could have answers for, but it's open-ended enough to where you sort of think that was nice, and she can go back to this place where this house is, and possibly visit this ghost again. And it's a beautiful film. Anyone who's into Studio Ghibli movies, watch that, because that is honestly that I think that might be my new favourite film.
It would be. It's a shame you couldn't see it in the cinema though.
It really is, yeah.
Because Errol Flynn, when they showed, because I watched 2001 ages ago, but just like on an online stream on my laptop, just because I was like really into film, and I'm like, this is the one that everyone says, and I watched it. I really enjoyed it when I saw it. I was like, oh, this is cool. But then when when Errol Flynn said they were doing it, I was like, I want to go. I think it was during when we were doing our A-levels as well. So it was like the worst time to go see it, but I was like, I need to fucking. I know I can't miss this. I went and saw it like in between. Like I had an exam the next day. It was a bit awkward because Miss Browning was there, but I didn't. I was like avoiding her because I was like, if she sees me here and recognises I'm meant to be doing an exam, she's gonna kill me. So I don't think she would have cared in hindsight, you know.
No, Miss Browning would not have cared.
I was like, oh, it's cool. But watching that film in cinema, I was like borders on a religious experience.
Yeah.
Like it's that. I can't describe. It's one of those ones that you're just.
I am excited to watch it.
It's in the same genre as like another one on the movie marathon list, which is Jodorowsky's Holy Mountain. And
Holy Mountain's supposed to be incredible.
Oh my god. That's like out there. Those two movies are like just Jodorowsky stuff in general is amazing, and it's like they're films where it's not about sort of just following the characters. You like experience it for yourself.
Do you know what is supposed to be like a film? I'm getting the same sort of like vibe from this. Is Antichrist by what's his name?
Oh,
the guy who said he was a Nazi.
Oh, I know who you mean. He made
Van Troyer.
Yeah, Nymphomaniac was him as well.
Yeah, that's supposed to. Antichrist is supposed to be incredible.
But with the Nazi, he didn't say he would. I think he said he would have been a Nazi, right? Because he's German.
He said, "I understand Hitler." He literally said that. He got banned from Comic-Con or wherever he went.
Well, of course he understands Hitler. He speaks the same language. Obviously.
It's not quite what you meant. You should watch that interview. That's funny. I
probably need to watch
that panel. Yeah, actually, if you're interested, go and watch the Your Movie Sucks review of Nymphomaniac.
Oh no, I think I did see it.
You've seen it? Yeah,
it was that long ago.
Pulls up that clip. It's very funny.
It's one of those things. Lars Troyer always I think of him as a director that's maybe sometimes borders on trying a bit too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
sometimes it's like, oh, dude, come on. I think he was trying to say that to be profound in some way. And I was just like, come on, dude. Think about it. If you're that intelligent, you wouldn't have said that.
Well, exactly.
I feel like another one like that is Refn, who made Drive and Neon Demon, which I love his films, but sometimes I think Come on, rein it in just a little
Just a bit.
a little bit, and you'll be fine. You know, I think, to be honest, I think if Jodorowsky's films weren't so fucking epic, he could fall into that category easily because he's a crazy. But he's like Lynch, where sometimes Lynch can be a bit eccentric, but he backs it up because that's him all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's no break,
Always, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's Lynch is cool as fuck. There's a YouTube channel at the moment that keeps putting out Lynch content. I'm watching that shit just because I never knew
Straight
about.
on that.
I always, for some reason, even when I was super into films, Lynch wasn't one of the ones I was like looking at until I started watching Twin Peaks, which I've stopped on the last episode of the original like second series, so I need to watch that and then get on to the return. At some point, I will do it. But now I'm back at uni, I'm kind of like,
It's finding time for stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
It's finding time. There's so much to watch in so little time.
But like watching less so much like Twin Peaks and but watching just Lynch videos is like kind of inspired my projects as well, which is why it's like one of those things where like earlier I was like, it's hard to explain over text. This is why, because I'm drawing from just these complete fucking crazy artists and not just from their visuals, from how they're working as well. I'm trying to do it in like not do it in their way, but do it in a more like seeing how they approach things and being like, oh, that's really interesting as a thing. Like, because I don't know whether I believe Jodorowsky was, but Lynch is a big proponent of like transcendental meditation.
That's a long word.
That's a long fucking word. And I think one of the Beatles, there was it John Lennon, whichever one was with Yoko Ono.
Yeah, John Lennon
was in it as well, but the not so much into that, but I feel like it. I might try it just to find out. But it's where these kind of images from the back of your mind, like you get images from the subconscious, which is what I'm trying to really, because what the meditation technique is, you have like a sort of mantra, and then you kind of just go along with it, whatever comes. You know what I mean?
like build from that, yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm not necessarily sitting down doing meditation and stuff, but I'm kind of deep diving into like the emotional and physical toll of social media and stuff. And obviously I'm looking at stuff that's more academic and concrete as well, like research to back it up as well. Yeah. But the images I'm pulling are from the subconscious, because like we're part of the social media generation, so we have the Videodrome mutation, as it would be, you know. It's like with
I don't think we've got it as severe as like a few like people like 2 years younger than us.
But there's some people in our generation as well. I think.
There's some that are like 10 years older than us that like spend their life on like TikTok. Yeah. I think generally speaking, we are of a generation that
well, we knew a time before. However briefly.
See, I grew up with cassettes and a Game Boy Advance and shit like that.
Yeah, you're real old school when you're like, I've got these VHS of old TV recordings.
Yeah, literally.
Fucking ass.
Yeah, I made a video on a VHS tape I had recorded of a busted Christmas special from like 2004.
Yeah, it's even though like I remember becoming kind of more conscious of the internet maybe when I was like 12.
Yeah,
so before then,
I was like conscious of it from like 8 years old, I'd say, because that's when we had our like proper home computer like upgrade. But just sort of.
But I didn't really consider that I was a. But before then, it was always like looking stuff up for homework. It was always the same as TV's a thing you watch and you don't interact with.
Yeah.
When I became 12, I was like, when I came conscious of things like YouTube and social media, and when it's like, oh, I'm a part of it. Yeah. It's not something I look at. It's something I'm part of, you know. That's when it was like, that's what I mean, like when I became conscious of it, I guess, as it is today, as the mass media and social media thing, and it's this like scary thing where it's like, and especially now it's like people are like, we've all been stuck at home, but we haven't, no one wants to be stuck at home because being stuck at home is boring, because we don't really know how to do being stuck at home.
No, we don't,
because we're used to always being at work or always being out or something. So when we all got stuck at home, we immediately ran to the internet. So we weren't home, we were on the internet, and then it becomes real for people, because they like, how many people you've seen get radicalized by online stuff in any direction.
Everything gets radicalized.
Like, I think when you say radicalized, people go like, oh, becoming like an ISIS member, but I mean like even just from watching loads of right wing stuff or watching loads of left wing stuff. You know, it can go
attaching labels to shit.
And then and then you can just create an echo chamber. That was a big word that came up. You know, you just get
echo
encapsulated.
Chamber, that's a good one.
And it's like, me and you are sitting in this room, but you know, because of our online thing as sort of a filter, the connotations of things change for both of us. So we're in the same place, but a different place at the same time. And it's
Yeah.
A lot of time on the podcast. I was talking to Harry about this. A lot of time in the podcast because the podcast is kind of involved with it to an extent because it is an interaction with the internet, and it's. I'm not doing this for my project. I'm doing this as a separate thing, but I'm learning things from doing this that I wouldn't. That I didn't expect, but now it's happening. I'm like, oh, shit's coming up, but.
It's going to have an effect, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of episodes back, I'd often say, half jokingly, half seriously, like, nothing's real, you know? But, like, as it's gone on, I've kind of come to the conclusion that everything's real. And I mean, like, the online stuff is real as well. And
there is an element of reality to it.
And it's that.
So many relationships between not just people, but between people and ideas and things and art and it is real. And we wouldn't have those without the internet.
Or even whether it's an online friend as such, you're talking to someone, or even just watching someone's YouTube videos, you have a relationship with that person that you get some sort of emotion from.
You wouldn't have if you didn't have it.
And here's where it gets scary, Niall. Have you ever found a YouTube channel and then a couple videos in you find out that the person's died?
I think
I don't know if you've had
so.
this.
I don't think I've ever sort of had like,
or even just like someone's Instagram account, you know.
I feel like I've maybe watched a channel and someone died later on, but I don't think I've ever watched a channel and then found out that they died before I'd even discovered them. But you can
still go back and watch
that's a part
that
of them.
person alive. You can see them thinking and saying stuff or doing stuff, and that's photography's always been that idea of cheating death. You know, it captures yourself, so you no longer have to worry about this thing where your grandkids think about you for the last time and then you disappear anymore. Yeah. Because you have pictures of you, like this podcast, you got your voice on record now.
My voice is on record. Yeah, I mean, I've also got my videos that I spent like however much time like making sure that I put across what I wanted to say and stuff.
Push it to the extreme. Like now they can do like deep fake stuff. Like they had an exhibition a couple years ago where they basically brought Salvador Dali back to life.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and you could take it. Or like, did you see the Joe Rogan fake voice one?
I didn't.
That was terrifying. It's like they put all of his podcasts of him speaking into an algorithm, and then the algorithm made basically new sentences, and you can't tell.
That's terrifying.
So this is where the AI comes into it.
We were talking about this with literally just on your photo app on iPhone. Yeah. It can recognise cats, dogs, playgrounds, trees, food, recognise faces and repeated faces in your photo stream and stuff. It's proper terrifying. And
push it all the way to the extreme. It's like, did you see that John? I think it was a Johnny Depp film. I think it was called Singularity. It wasn't a good movie. So, but he's dying and he basically uploads himself into the machine.
Right.
And that's been a concept for ages. But at this point, we're leaving a digital footprint, you know.
We are, yeah.
And these self-learning algorithms can, if someone just feeds in your footprint, they could synthesize a version of you. So I'm coming to, like, one of the things I'm kind of exploring in my sketch at the moment I was thinking about is kind of we've cheated to death to the point now where we don't really die anymore.
We are preserved.
Don't. You know, I think this is where a lot of social anxiety comes from with the online thing when you take it too seriously, is because it's, well, if I put something out there...
It's there forever.
It's there forever. What are people going to think about me in 100 years? And we're already seeing that with like other historical figures coming up nowadays where people go, oh, you know, they owned slaves, or they did this, and then we change our opinion, which is like valid, but then us as individuals are thinking, in 100 years, what if we're sat here drinking rum, and then in 100 years rum becomes this very illicit thing that you're not meant to do? And then they're like, oh, maybe we should shun him, delete him, and then you do just
we get cancelled. We get cancelled after we're dead.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's why I think a lot of people who are really socially anxious about social media end up pausing and then doing nothing, because it's like everything you do you feel like is recorded and will be judged in the future. So it's like in this weird way, like we were that desperate to escape death, right? Because we were scared of it, but now we've escaped it, we're kind of thinking, it's so bad. Because,
how do we escape people's judgment?
Yeah, it's like now we have this new fear, and we're like, fuck, we've lost the right to die, and now it's like, oh, that's even scarier than to die. Because, you know, like, is it the French, they call orgasms like the little death, like petit something? I can't
something like that.
Petit fucking, I don't know, dead. Whatever the French word
Petty
death
dead.
is, but they do. But, you know, so it sort of implies that death is like a big, like a euphoric experience. you know, that we've kind of ran away from, and now we're in this hell.
And on that
ongoing
bombshell,
hell.
guys, drink bleach.
Well, now I've just come to the like, you know how hell's the idea that when they say you go to heaven, you have a good time. They never bring up the fact that it goes on forever. As with hell, it's like the big thing is that it's eternal.
Yeah,
and that's kind of we're at this turning point now where our digital footprints can become. They're already more real than we intend them to be, and they could turn way more real and push it to a real extreme. So that's kind of
yeah, for sure.
That's my thoughts on death, Niall. It's not real. And
I
we
don't
live forever, and that's scarier.
I don't like to think about death. I used to sit
freak
in.
you out or anything.
Yeah, no, I used to sit in physics when we'd do like space and the universe and shit, and I'd have like mini panic attacks. I had to try and keep them quiet.
Oh, space is freaky as fuck.
I'd have like mini panic attacks. So we watched this one video where it was like the largest star in the known universe in comparison, size comparison to the Earth, and it just kept zooming out, zooming out, and zooming out.
It's because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of the infinite, and social media's at this turning point where it's turning from infinite to something we kind of wrap our
almost
heads
is
around.
infinite. You would never be able to watch and see everything on the internet.
In the same way that the ocean at some point to cavemen wasn't infinite, and now it's a thing that connects us but also separates us. Social media connects us.
We will
but
never
also
see
separates
every
us.
page on the internet.
No, you won't, because it's But we're starting to understand more of its capabilities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's no longer a magic object, but it's still just like you sit and think about it, and it can be just as freaky as space is. Like,
It's a freaky place.
and also when you consider it's going on at the same time as space, it's like you're only going to deal with both of them at the same time. And
Cyberspace and space, which is freakier.
Yeah. And then even if you decide which
cyberspace has furries on it. So.
There you go. There's no space furries. Yeah. But even if you decide you weigh up which one's freakier or not, you have to expect they're both real. So it's, they compound each other. It's like. Woof. Yeah, so that's what my project's about now. Are you glad you asked that question?
Glad I asked. I am glad I asked. It was very insightful.
Yeah, once I have images, I'll show you.
Thank you. I'd love to see them.
Yeah, you'll be part of the group, because I don't think I'm going to upload it on Instagram. I think it's going to be a purely
private
circle.
Thing.
Yeah. What? Well, it's going to be an exhibition. It'll probably be a zine. So people on the Instagram will find out about it, but they'll have to...
I'm planning on showing off when we have face-to-face sessions, I'm planning on showing your Northampton Town zine that you published a couple of years ago.
Do you still have one?
I have it. It's in my laptop case. I brought it to school.
Amazing.
Not school, university.
Sick. Because I've got one, but I assumed all the other ones fell into the bin or something.
I'm going to show it to the people on the course.
That thing's... Can you rip out the pages of stuff where I actually wrote stuff? Because it's fairly cringe.
No.
But yeah.
Everyone has that. Look, right, my YouTube channel is like the most cringe thing on the planet, but I'm just going to fucking leave that shit up there.
I guess it shows growth.
Exactly,
It shows your ability to change and your acceptance.
It's evolution. It's part of you. It's part. Everyone. Right. Everyone's got to be a bit cringe. Everyone's got to be a bit soppy. If they're not, they're like.
Well, you got to do stupid shit in order to do good things.
Exactly.
You got to do bad shit too, and you got to. It's the free speech thing. You got to be able to say awful
if you're
shit
not
to be able to say
even
good
a little
things.
bit cringe to someone, then you're not a real person.
Well, yeah.
You're just pretending to be someone.
Pandering to people.
Yeah, it's pandering.
Some people got to hate you. Some people got to like you.
You know what?
If everyone likes
you,
you don't really have character. That's a quote from someone.
I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I like to think I'm a nice
come?
person, but I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I've just accepted that.
Yeah,
I never
fair
will
enough.
be.
At least you accepted yourself now.
That's sweet, innit?
Yeah. Oh, what a way to
on that bombshell.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Niall Redmond.
Niall Redmond, yeah.
Is there anything you want to shout out or promote?
There is something I want to shout out. My YouTube channel, I've mentioned it a couple of times.
Awesome.
I worked very, very hard on the 3 videos that are on that channel over the 4 years that I've been active on there. Active in inverted commas.
Nice.
I'm planning more stuff. It's like sort of like an archive of like nostalgic stuff. So if anyone's interested in like nostalgia or things that from your past that you might find interesting, I make sort of like kind of like comedy videos. They're almost like comedy. They're almost like reviews. They're
funny,
like mix of like if you've watched like JonTron or Scott the Woz or Eddie Burback or something like that, they're all like big inspirations. Billiam. That's another good channel that I took a lot of inspiration from. There's a lot of places I take inspiration from. I make that sort of style of content. If anyone's interested in that, I don't know if they even will be.
They will.
Every view is appreciated.
Everyone's
Every
spending
comment's
time on the
appreciated. I just want to improve. Really, I want to go into video career wise. So
I'll be sure to put a link to it in the description.
Thank you very much. That's massively appreciated.
For those listening on YouTube, scroll down.
Yeah, and that channel is OK Sharky. It's capital O, capital K, capital S.
Nice.
Harky.
I'm sure as well. It's in your Instagram description.
It is. Yeah, my Instagram is also OK Sharky.
Yeah, so the Instagram you're seeing on the right side of the screen right now, follow that, and then you can get there as well. But it'll be in the
there's a link
as well.
link in my bio on Instagram, and
So you have no excuses. You find it.
Fucking lazy bastards.
Need it spelled out from. But yeah.
Right, lovely. Thank you so much for having me on, Joe.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Come
back whenever.
If you want to have me back again, I'll gladly do it.
Yeah, well, fucking.
It's been a riot.
Yeah, people are gonna like it. That was good.
I might have different hair next time as well.
Anyway, Niall Redmond, safe.